Yes, hello everyone. How you guys doing? This is Chidi here. Welcome you guys to today's program. We are waiting for some of our guests to sign in so that we can start the program proper. Uh, One or two of them is already here, but I want to have everybody, you know, join at the same time. And everybody's supposed to be here by now. So just give us 1 second or so to just have everybody joining. I know it's one technical thing or the other that is making our guests not to join in, but please bear with us. We're about to start. One thing you can do for me is to help me share this. It's very important. So help me share this around, help us invite as many people as possible, because the more people we have, the better. Okay, so let's share this around. Yes, I can see our guests signing in. I'll bring them into the studio as soon as possible. All right, so please help me share this video. Those of you on Facebook, thank you so much for joining in from Worship Media. Make sure that you give us a thumbs up and like our page before the end of the program. Those of you on YouTube, funny thing is our algorithm says not up to 75% of you who watch us on YouTube are subscribed. So please do us a favor and subscribe to our channel before the end of the program. But most importantly, I want to thank you for signing in, for joining us. We are going to get down to business very, very shortly. We're just having everybody sign in and we will begin in earnest. If you have any questions, please put down those questions in the comments box. I will see it from wherever you put the question. If you're on Facebook, put your question in the comment box. If you're on YouTube, put your question also in the comment box. All right. Thank you so much. I have one of our guests probably ready. So let me just welcome you guys properly. All right. So thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Dr. Chidi. I'm reaching you guys from Toronto, Canada, Worship Media TV studios. And it's a pleasure to have you guys today. Like I said at the beginning, and today's topic is a very, very interesting topic. I have very wonderful guests in the house today, and they will be joining us shortly. I have a barrister Atai Kide, who is joining us from London. We have also Mr. Uche Okoye, who is a very, very seasoned political analyst. He will be joining us. We have Regina Asker, who also has a show and who is joining us from New York. And we have Mazi, Mazi Obonna. A lot of you know Mazi Obonna. You don't even know that you know him, but by the time you see him, you'll be like, oh, is this the person that you're talking about? Mazi Obonna will be joining us. We also have Maximus Ejimofo. He will be joining us also. He is someone who knows a lot of history when it comes to the relationship between Igbos and other tribes surrounding them. Now, to lay a foundation for our discussion today is not a day I want us to be all about bickering. Today is a day where people come and they bring facts. Put your facts on the table, and we will all look at it together. Today is a day where, first of all, we're going to try to find out if there is a relationship between the people in question. and if there's a relationship, and if per adventure all these people have a common ancestry, common background, then the discussion is going to be a discussion amongst brothers and sisters. But then if we found out that, oh, the relationship is one that is not between brother and sister, it's just amongst neighbors, then that would also determine how the relationship will go. So by certain background discussions, we will decide where we are going today. Without wasting your time, I'm going to bring up my guests for today who are already waiting. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome Barrister Ata Ikide. Barrister Ata Ikide, you're welcome. If you can hear me.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Yes, but my the video is not showing. But if you can hear me, that's fine.
Your video is not showing. Just
no.
Try to.
I think it's loading.
Yeah. It's from your side. You'll see us very soon. Okay. So while you're doing that, I would like to also welcome in our midst another of our guests today, and the person of Uche Patrick Okoye. Patrick, you're welcome.
Thank you so much. I hope you can hear me and you can see me.
Yes, we can hear you. We can see you very clearly. Thank you so much for joining us. It's really a big pleasure for me to have you guys join out of your very, very busy schedules. We are waiting for 3 other people, but when they come in, we will add them to the conversation, because our guests, our viewers already tuned in like some 12 minutes ago. They were on time. So I'm going to start with 2 of you gentlemen. I'm going to kick off the discussion with 2 of you. The preamble I tried to lay before I added you guys to this conversation is I was saying that our discussion today is not one where we're going to be bickering. It's one where I'm hoping that we will present our cards, we'll present our facts on the table with a view that we are going to be able to offer new information that a lot of people don't know about, but also that we are hoping that we may actually learn 1 or 2 new information that we don't have. That is number 1. The number 2 preamble is that we are going to start by examining what the relationship is between the different tribes that are found in the Southeast and in the South-South. From that X-ray, we will now get to know how our discussion is going to proceed. Let me explain. If in the course of X-raying the relationship between these tribes, we discover that there's actually a strong bond between these people, that these people even may have a common lineage or ancestry, then our discussion is going to be a discussion between brothers and sisters. Or we find out that no, these are different people just existing our neighbors, then we know our discussion is going to be that of a discussion between neighbors. So let me start from there. I will go to you, Barrister Ata Ikide. How, in your understanding, what is the relationship between the tribes of the Southeast and South-South? So let me just say the Igbo tribe and other tribes. You can also help us to list the tribes that are found in the Southeast. Barrister Ikide.
Okay, thank you very much, Chidi, for this program, because I believe that it's going to bring a lot of understanding between us, I mean, Southerners within the Southeast, the South-South, or the Niger Delta region, because I believe that we need that foundation before we can even start talking about restructuring, before we can talk about this word a lot of people are using, breaking away. We need to understand our relationships as a people. Now, let me start this way, and I'm going to speak as an Ibibio, okay? Because it's my tribe that I understand the most in terms of our history and our relationship with the Igbos and all the other surrounding tribes. The Ibibios are the oldest Bantu tribe in Africa, the oldest. In fact, the Ibibio tribe is so old. In fact, the Ibibio tribe is older than the Igbo tribe, in the sense that our origins, they've not been able to come up. Anthropologists have not been able to come up with our exact location where we migrated from in Africa. There is a school of history that says we came from South Central Africa and migrated to Cameroon. And from Cameroon, we now migrated to Aro. And from Aro, we now dispersed southwards towards the River Niger, or towards the Atlantic Ocean, I'm sorry. There's also another school of history that says we came from Benue, from the north, okay? Because of our language, our language, they have been able to locate us linguistically with what they call the Niger Congo languages. Now, however, it appears that the overriding history of the Ibibios, or the one of the history that has been accepted, is the one that we migrated from Cameroon, okay, then got to this location and this area called Aro Chuku, okay. And we had a prince, we had an Ibibio prince at that time, and the Ibibios ruled the Aro Chuku area for many years. We don't know how many years, but they say for many years from historical records. And then there was an uprising within the Aros. The Aros now brought in Igbo warriors, okay? And they overthrew the Ibibios, okay? That overthrow is now what led to the first dispersal from Arochukwu down to Itu, and from Itu to Ikono, and then from Ikono, areas like Eket, Nsiribum, Nsurubium, Nsep, Athara. That's why even in Aro now, if you go to Arochukwu, there are festivals. There are Ibibio festivals in Arochukwu. In fact, the Aro masquerade is called Ekbo, which is termed ghost in my language. Even our names are so similar. Now, what then happened was the Aros now became a very powerful people, a very powerful tribe. And the Aros now came up with this religion. It was more like a religion called the Long Juju, okay? The Long Juju was was a religious sect that spanned the whole of the Arochukwu area right down to the Ibibio area. Okay. In fact, the Aros had priests. There were priests. The Aros had the Long Juju priests. They were what we call like evangelists nowadays, that dispersed and went to different villages and different towns. All right. Each village, each community had to give a sacrifice to the Long Juju. Okay. Now, what then happened was when slave trade now came into that area, came into the Ibibio and the Aro area, the Long Juju now became the principal means of dispensing justice in Ibibio land. Okay. And that was a way that the Aros were able to get slaves. Some of us know this history. Were able to get slaves from the Ibibio land to feed the slave traders in Calabar. And so what happened was, if you were caught in adultery, or if you were a thief, or if the community did not want you for one reason or the other, or if there was a war, okay, the Ibibios would capture this, how do I put them? These people that were not needed on society, and they'll sell them to the Aros, okay? And they used to call it Ibritam. So what used to happen was, you get to the Long Juju shrine. If you were convicted, you now had to go through a tunnel. Okay, when you went through that tunnel, it was taken that the Ibritam, the Long Juju god, had swallowed the person. Whereas really, what had happened was that tunnel was actually the tunnel led to slave traders that were waiting for you on the other side, and will now take the convicted person on a long trek. You can imagine from Arochukwu, from a long trek from Arochukwu, all the way to can't remember the name now, but there was a small port. Okay, there was a small port, and from that port, slaves were loaded. Ibibio slaves were now loaded from that port to Calabar port. Now, through this, okay, we've had a very long history. Through the Aros, we had a very long history with the Igbos. Okay, Igbo traders used to come to Ibibio land to trade. In fact, the name Unege, because we call Igbos Unege. The word Unege means the people who lay their things, who pack their things. Okay, because we came to the Ibibio land to sell their wares, they used to pack their things. Unege, Adinekempo is to make things straight. Okay, so we had this long history with the Igbos. Now, when slave trade was abolished along Atlantic coast, all right, the Ibibios now discovered that they had a lot of oil palm, because, you know, the British were trying to stop the slave trade and get our people to look at other trades that would replace slave trade. Now, the oil palm now came. Our land, because we have what you call the alluvial clay, our land was the best in that whole region where we had, to grow palm trees. All right. Now, what happened was this. was the Igbos now became the middlemen. The Ibibios would harvest palm nuts from the hinterlands. The Igbos were the middlemen that would buy this palm kernel and palm nuts and sell it to the Effiks. And the Effiks will now sell it to the merchants, British merchants along the coast. So that has been our relationship with Igbos, even up till today, as I'm speaking to you, Chidi. Up till today, you would hardly find an Ibibio. Well, there are some Ibibios that sell directly, okay? But even up to today, my grandfather was an oil merchant, palm oil merchant. And what he used to do was he would take his palm oil to the I can't remember the name of this small coast. He'll take his palm oil there. The Igbos will buy it off him and sell it. So that has been our relationship with the Igbos. It's been a long relationship, a lucrative relationship. But brother, the Civil War came. Can you hear me?
We're sorry. I don't want us to be ahead of ourselves. Thank you, Atai Kide. You've really done what I wanted you to do. You lived a background from your own perspective. Now I'm going to bring in Uche Patrick Okoye. Uche is someone that I respect a lot, and Uche, you're very welcome. Now you've heard Barrister Taikide talk, and I want you to also give me, from your own perspective, what you understand to be the relationship between. I know you have some background noise. I don't know.
I hope it is not disturbing. If it is, maybe I should go to another location. Is it really disturbing?
Okay, when you start talking, but we can hear, if it's possible to tell the people to please keep their voices down, but if you cannot,
okay, that means I will have to relocate where I am. I thought here would be safe enough. Okay, well, I listened to everything.
Yeah, I want you to give us a background of your understanding between the Igbos and the people around them.
Okay. Well, this is a very important historical perspective from Ikide, and I wish we have someone from Arotuku that will make clear sense of what from the perspective of Arotuku and people that traded and had direct contact with the Ibibios. But the little time I spent in Abia State, and particularly Aba, and there's something I discovered quite interesting and very fascinating, and that's the fact that there's no, especially where it's called is it Fox Road or Ikote Road? That is Obo Hill. From there down to the cross Akwa Ibom, you will discover there is huge presence of Ibibio people, living side by side with the people in Abia State, and they have never had any issue. To my best of understanding, they've never had any issue, and they intermarry, intertwine. Look at the way he painted is actually how it is, and I want to say clearly that even Abia State, the commercial capital of Abia State, which is Aba, is actually named by the people of Ibibio. So that is the level of their relationship. The culture, the Ekpe culture, I think that's what he was trying to say. The Ekpe culture, which happens to be a secret cult culture, is practiced by the people from that side and people from. I think I have to relocate from this place.
No, go ahead. Just finish your point, then you'll be able to relocate. It's okay.
Okay,
we can hear you.
Okay, all right. Now we have also. He mentioned clearly the Ekpo masquerade. I remember vividly about Ekpo masquerade, and it's also a culture that they share with people around that place. They also have in CBD, that is the writing, that they share together in that. It's a secret called writing in CBD. It's called in CBD. And you remember the foremost about women's riots that happened in 1929, where the people from that part of the country, I mean the Ibibio, and people from Abia State, the current Aba, then and other environments participated actively. They were majorly instrumental to that struggle. And other things that the people from Ibibio and Abia State particularly have shared together over the years. And it has never, there has never been a time any of the group has taken over anybody's property or conquered anybody or invaded anybody's land under any disguise. Unfortunately, there was the issue of suspicion, which usually comes up whenever there is minority and majority question. And it was clearly captured in the Harry Willings report of 1958, where they captured all the fears that most minority people expressed. And it was the intention was to clearly find out the problems and find a way to allay those fears. And
Okay,
that commission.
I don't like I told Ataikide, let's not bring the cat out of the bag yet. Let's not be
Okay.
Ahead of ourselves.
Okay. So I was actually giving a kind of a background to the Civil War. I mean, that is where he stopped, and I hope I would be allowed to stop there too.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. You actually did what I wanted you to do. Now I'm going to bring in another of our distinguished guests, as they like to say it in Nigeria, Mr. Maximus Ejimofor. Thank you so much, Maximus Ejimofor. It's a pleasure to have you on the program today. We are starting from the basics. I want you need to unmute yourself.
Thank you, sir. I just did, sir.
Yeah, Maximus, thank you very, very much. I appreciate your joining in. Maximus, tell us what you understand to be the relationship between the Igbos and the tribes around them, whichever ones you know, whatever tribes that you find around the Igbos. What do you think is the relationship to the best of your knowledge? It looks like you're not facing your light, so we're not seeing you very well. Your light is hitting you from your right. I wish you were facing the light. Oh, he's also frozen. Maximus is frozen. Maximus, you're frozen. Anyway, Maximus, I don't know if
okay, somehow.
Oh, sorry. I think he's having a problem with his connection.
I think he's connecting back. He's reconnecting back.
Okay, Maximus, can you hear us now? Okay. He cannot hear us now. Okay, Maximus, can you hear us now? Can you hear us now? We can hear you.
Yeah, I'm trying to connect to change my connection to get another access. So I'm changing access. I don't know if I'm.
You're okay now. You're okay now. Oh no, not really. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna let you work on that, and we will just let me put him on mute, and then let's continue. When he has a better connection, we will continue. Now, Ataikide, let's go back to you. Okay, let's go back to you. From what you have said now, Ata, can you unmute yourself, please? Hello, Ata. Well, everybody seems to be having network issues. Hello, Ataikide, can you hear me? This is a very serious topic, so it's important that we have everyone's system working. Okay, Uche, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you loud and
Yeah,
clear.
so it looks like our friends are having problems with their network. So I'm going to
Okay.
continue. I'm going to continue with you once we have Maximus. Maximus, are you back on?
Yeah, I think I'm back on. Am I
I think
audible
it's
now?
Okay,
yes.
you're back on. Yes, we can hear you. Okay, go ahead, Maximus. You can talk
Okay,
now.
okay. What like I said earlier, when it comes to migration and settlement or traditions of origin,
Mm-hmm.
most time there are multiple ideas to that or
Mm-hmm.
different school of thought.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing is fact. There's always a recurring decimal which makes you understand that this would have been the correct one and this would have been the right or the wrong one.
Yeah.
Let me start from the Igbos of the West Niger, for instance, which we
Okay.
call the Delta Igbo today,
Mm-hmm.
and who are bordered, by the north, from the Benins. The Edos are the north, bordering them by the north. There's this multiple traditions that explain that one is a Chima who was a son of Unre, migrated from Unre to Onisha, then was a representative of the Obi kingdom in Onisha to Benin Empire.
Mm-hmm.
Then at some point there was a little disagreement. They fell out with the Oba of Benin and his settlement and his family. At this point in time, Eze Chime at his time had so many children and so many wives. So he was forced out of Benin and he began to return back from whence he came from, which was what led to, in returning back, he chose not to cross over to the Niger where he came from, but to settle in what we know to be modern day Anioma, which now eventually gave birth to the fundamentals of people who made Anioma, even though there are so many other new incomings, like people that came from Ibu, the Ibu people that came from Igala, and very French that came from Yoruba land. This was what gave birth to the major part of the Ika Igbo people, all the people that made of the West Niger Igbo people, or the Delta Igbo, or the Bendel Igbo, or the Midwestern Igbo, because they've changed identity over time. But one thing that is constant is that they are the Igbos of the West Niger. So West Niger doesn't change, just like we are the Igbos of the East Niger. So that was how, but, due to the war, actually, horrors of the war and so many other things. So there's this, identity challenge where some Igbo begin to feel that, no, having seen what was meted out to the major part of Igbo, I do not want to remain Igbo. That's why you see some younger generation tell you that we are not Igbo. But truth be told, if you go to West Niger Igbo today, my BA work was on civil war and West Niger Igbo. If you go to West Niger Igbo today, like I visited them there, and I stayed there on 2 different occasions for over 3 months on those 2 occasions, because I had to interview so many people and also collect some written documents anywhere I could see it, collect from oral documents anywhere I could see it, collect some pictures. The generation that give birth to people like me are all proud Igbos. Sincerely, when I say generation, all of them that are above 60s and above and up, they are all proud Igbo. But those ones that are below 45 down, who we could consider to be the children of those who actually saw the horrors of war, they tend to tell you, where are you from? They will tell you, I am Delta. Somehow, when you say, where in Delta are you from? They will now say Delta Igbo. Ordinarily, it's supposed to be, I am Igbo. Then what part of Igbo say Delta or Anyoma Igbo or West Niger Igbo, if you understand? So that's what I know. I kind of knows, a reasonable degree of information about the Igbos of the West Niger. If you read the book of Ropes of Sand by Adiele Afigbo said that the West Niger Igbo people see the major part of Igbo as home away from their main home. They see it as Igbo from where they could actually go back when there's a serious challenge, which was why, for instance, during the war, Biafran soldiers really did not shoot a gun to actually enter West Niger Igbo and move past West Niger Igbo. They begin to get resistance when they go to Edo axis, because an average Igbo man knows that the modern day Delta is as good as home like when he's in Anambra. Then when it comes to Ibibio people, there's this work by Edet Udo that is one of the explained traditions of origin. There are multiple explanations. Some Ibibio believe that they actually came from the Cameroons. Some actually believe that they are descendants of Ijo. But this particular work by Edet Udo averred that the Ibibios were a combination of marriage that gave birth from an Efik father and Igbo woman, Igbo mother. Precisely Edet Udo's work. The full title, I don't want to misquote it. I don't have it now, but I can always get it and send it to any link of anybody who is interested in reading. It's part of the traditions of origin. Just like when you want to look at the major part of Igbo, a lot of work will tell you that most of us actually begin to spread to other parts of Igbo from Onre, that we are all descendants of Onre kingdom. Some will still tell you that, some we came from Egypt and so on. But at the latter part of Kenneth Dike is one of the foremost Nigerian historians. He was the brain behind the Nigerian Historical Society. Nigerian historiography was mostly tied to him. He found the history department of Ibadan when he finished studying in UK. He was actually one of the earliest VC of University of Ibadan. At the same time when this other Igbo man was VC of Unilag, he left Ibadan to Enugu during the war. DK said that at the early period of historical writing, when men were hungry of tying themselves to great kingdom, that was the period when you see Igbos telling you that they came from Egypt, they came from Israel, that actually Igbos in general were part of the Kwa people that settled in the Niger confluence, which if you look at it backwards, if you study it with linguistic historiography, which we call linguistic history, that's what we use to measure language, how old language has existed. It is called lexiconstantistics, that Igbos in Niger confluence existed together with Yoruba people about 5,000 years ago. But when they spread, Igbos moved towards the east, Yoruba moved towards the west. Then when Yoruba moved towards the west, not long, some part of Yoruba now move down to the creeks, the people we have today to call Ishekiri, Ijo, and Isoko. But the other part were the parts that broke away from Igbo, like you have maybe Ibibio, Efik, Anang, and so on like that. So that's what I have to say about migration and settlement of the Igbo and their neighbor. But I wouldn't want to far towards the war period, so forward to a more modern time. When I say modern time,
we're going to come back to that. And by the time we come back to you, let's see if you can get some more lighting on your face, because we see lights to your right, but
okay.
Yeah, if you turn it around a little bit, it will make us see you much better. But thank you so much, Maximus. Thank you very much. We're going to come back to you.
Thank you, sir.
I don't know what has happened to Atai Kide. I would have loved Atai Kide to come back now. But Uche Okoye, if you are there, if you're able, I want to bring you back in, Uche. Thank you so much for coming back in. You're also, so Uche, Ata is not back, but let me ask you, Uche, what would you now call the relationship between the Igbo and we're going to be focusing a lot on the Ibibios, because those are the people we have here today. And so what would you think is the relationship between the Igbos and the Ibibios? Do you think it's one of brother-sister relationship? I mean, brother, sister, or one of neighbor relationship?
All right, thank you. I hope I can be heard now. I hope I'm loud enough.
Yes, clearly, very clearly, much better.
All right. So thank you, Maximus. I told you that he is very grounded when it comes to history, and he gave us a lot of history as regards to Igbos and their neighbors. Now, going to your question straight, and I think it is important for us to state clearly that the Igbo people have existed with their neighbors without any history of conquering, domination, or empire, whatsoever, or taking over people's land. It has never happened. It has never been recorded, and this is because of the democratic nature of an Igbo man. We have an egalitarian society whereby we don't believe in any form of royalty or monarchical system of government. And we believe that everyone is equal before the eyes of the gods. And that has been our creed, Ebebele Ugobelo. And the minority, or the people in the southern part of the river Niger, who we share boundary with, who we have coexisted for thousands of years without any form of problem. And we have existed with them in form of, we have existed and cohabited with them in trade, in commerce, we have even intermarried, exchange ideas, and so on and so forth. And I can say that the relationship has been quite progressive. And at that time, the Igbo people didn't exist as Igbo people. The interaction we had with the minority in the southern Niger was based on each clan. For example, Ata mentioned the interaction they had with Arochukwu, and of course the people, the Ngwa people, the Owerri people, the Onitsha people, the Oka people. These clans are from the major Igbo people, but they operate independently. So that has always been the way we, related with the minorities or other people. We related with them independently. We didn't relate with them as wholly Igbo. We related with them as maybe Onitsha versus Ibibio, Arochukwu versus Ibibio, what's it called? The Owerri versus Ibibio. That has always been the case until when we started having homogeneous Igbo, or harmonized the whole clans to have single identity, which is Igbo. And that was what happened in early 1900s, And since that time, we have had, several, we've continued with the same trade pattern. We never had any altercation. We never had any war, and these people, when it comes to population, we are greater than them. When it comes to might, we are greater, but it has never happened that the Igbo people went and took over the land and dominated them and took what belongs to them. They recorded concerns and fears of the minority that was recorded in Henry Willing's report in 1958, only showed things that the minorities were complaining about. And at the end of that inquiry commissioned by the British, they discovered that almost everything they complained about were mostly baseless. The issue of, for example, where one of the cases was that the Igbo people in Onitsha built streetlights, modern streetlights in Onitsha, and they refused to build the same in Calabar. It was found that the people in Onitsha was actually, the streetlight in Onitsha was actually built by the people from Onitsha. The money they used in building that was contributed by the people. And of course, I didn't mention the Eastern region when we became Eastern region, and the first, remember the Eyo, Ita Eyo, who is from Ibibio, from from that side, that's Aqua Cross, became remind me now, he became the leader of Eastern region at that time. And of course, on that majorly dominated, region that is dominated by the Igbos, he was elected to lead the Igbo people or the Eastern region.
Of course,
And
the Eastern region actually.
Yes, Eastern region, and that shows the level of trust or the level of cordial relationship we have with the minority, and that was why we were able to elect somebody from minority to lead Eastern region, something that never happened in other region like the Western region or the Northern region
at all.
And yeah, we also had a lot of inclusion. For example, the first what's his name, Isaac Boro was elected SCG president
Of UNN.
UNN in a school that is dominated by the Igbos. Of course, the overwhelming number of Igbo could have elected an Igbo person, and he contested this election against an Igbo person. And the people from UNN deemed him more qualified to lead them, and they elected him without, putting into cognizance of his where he comes from, and other things like infrastructure that MI Okpara puts out in a southern part of the country, in current south now. If you look at most of the infrastructure he built in River State, for example, he has a very massive industrial layout, that's established by the MI Okpara during that during our when we existed as a regional government at that time. Then we also had a lot of other infrastructures that, like Obudu Cattle Ranch, like Hotel Presidential, and so on, and power stations that were actually established by the Eastern region at that time. So the point is, like, of course, there were so many concerns from the minority. There were so many, and like I said, after the commission looked into this concern and figured out that most of the complaints were mostly not attainable, that most of the things that he complained about were mostly over exaggerated. And what that simply means is that there has never been a time that Igbo people intentionally, as a group of us, collectively, went into the minority or the people in the South to intimidate, to dominate, to cause any harm under any disguise. It has never happened even when we were in control. Even when we were in control of the Eastern government.
Hegemonic wars is not common in Igbo land, like you have in Yoruba land, for instance.
Maximus, I'm going to come back to you guys. It's getting interesting. I'll come back to you. I want to take it one step at a time. Let me welcome to the discussion one of our, again, as we say in Nigeria, distinguished guests. So let me bring in another distinguished guest amongst us, in the person of Regina Askia. Regina Askia does not need introduction. She also has a show. She is the president of the Office of the Citizen. And she joins us from New York. Regina, thank you so much. I know you have a very busy schedule, but thank you for
having me. And I apologize. I thought I would be over with this and just jump on the show, but it didn't work out that way. But I'm happy you've given me 5 minutes. I want to thank all the participants because they have made some solid contributions. And I hope you were able to get Mr. Patrick along with my brother. Now, the nutshell, the problem in a nutshell, like the previous speaker was talking about, is domination, borderline bullying and domination by Igbo tribes, purportedly, okay? Because there's a long history in the Anang side of Akwa Ibom State, okay? A long history of the presence of Igbos and Igbos domineering and dominating over the locals. They used to call them Omani. And after a while, there was so much friction between Omani and the local people that, there was some kind of uprising that had them, that had the locals insisting that the Igbos, left. And after that, the relationship has always been fictitious. What I'm hoping that we will discuss, or what I'm looking forward to talking, to have people have an honest discussion about is the attitude of the Igbo tribes to their neighbors. You know, how come everybody's always saying that whenever the Igbos come in, they dominate, they take over, they enslave the people and all that? Somebody was saying that it's not really, it's not true, one, or it's not a real issue, because you cannot quarrel with people for being progressive. You cannot quarrel with people for being who they are. I mean, progressive people, sometimes aggressive, business people, go-getters, you know, they push themselves, they go out there and get stuff done. You can't quarrel with them for being who they are. But is there a way we could find a middle ground between, you know, getting some consideration between the tribes so that there's no friction that will lead to this kind of animosity? You know, we must in truth and honesty accept what we did to each other during the war. When we accept that and apologize for that and come to a middle ground, that's the only time we can forgive each other and move forward in truth and justice. Okay, so we have to come to that point. So I'm hoping that when I replay this discussion, I will hear, you know, like a truth commission where everybody can talk about what really is biting them, what is eating them up, what is really causing the friction between the Ibibio, Anang, and the Igbo. Because indeed we are one people, all right? We are one people, and then because of the frictious relationship between each other, we kind of fractionated and went our separate ways. And this is what led to the Southeast or the Igbo people and the Anang people not wanting to be a part of Biafra. They fear Igbo domination. So I am looking forward to that discussion. I'm listening, even though I'm not able to really contribute. And I hope to hear you talk about that. Okay?
All right. Thank you
for having me.
Yes, thank you so much, Regina. I know you're in the middle of something, but thank you for carving out time to make a contribution. And we promise to keep the conversation going.
Yes.
Thank you very, very much. Atai Kide, I was going to bring you in, but I don't know what is happening with your connection. His video is just rolling. Atai Kide, if you can come on. Okay, Ata is not able to come on now. Let me go back to Maximus. So Maximus, you have heard this talk about relationship between Igbos and others. Okay, Ata Kide, are you on now? Ata, can you hear us? Ata, can you hear us? Oh, Ata, can you hear us, Ata? Okay, I don't think his connection is okay. Ata's connection is not very okay. All right, let me go back to you, Maximus. You had yeah, I'm gonna go back to Maximus. Maximus, what do you think? You've heard this talk about the Ibibios and the Anangs. These are the people that we have represented here. Atai Kide is an Ibibio person. Regina Askia is an Anang person. Okay. You've heard them talk about domination, that there's this domination from the Igbos, and that's why Igbos don't want to be part of Biafra and talk like that. What do you have to say?
Okay, a quick one. Let me give a little short history. You know, why things possibly is the way it is, or why it could have been different, or why it's not supposed to be the way it is. For instance, in Igbo land, as long as you and I can remember, there were no hegemonic war of Igbo wanting to dominate any of their neighbor, or their neighbor wanting to dominate them. However, during the period of slave trade, there were slave raidings. Those coastal communities that laid hand on firearms earlier than the hinterland, which were people, the Aro, through their closeness to the coastal communities like the Ibibios, the Efik, the Igbos, were one of the earliest Igbo, if not the earliest, that lay hand on firearms. And they used it to raid on the hinterland Igbo brothers of theirs because they needed slave. For each slave, at the earlier period, for each slave you bring is two gun, two firearms. But at the later period, it became each slave 10 to 12 guns. At some point when, it was done to slave traders that Igbo slaves were bad business for multiple reasons, which I would explain if you ask me to explain.
Go ahead.
That was when the raiding in Igbo land became minimized. For instance, during the slave trade, the coastal communities, when I say coastal communities, Ijo, Ibibio, Afang, Efik, Anang, all of them, they all raided on hinterland Igbo because they had gun. With gun, 5-man family can actually raid just a whole village and take about 10 people to ransom. Not only ransom, kidnap 10 people and have them auctioned by the coastal areas, and then to slave traders from England and America, and then to the New World. What happened was that at the early period, slaves was booming. After some time, they noticed that.
Whoa. We lost. I think what happens is a lot of people get online these days about this period. Next time I'm going to do it earlier than this period because I see that it's a problem. It's really a problem. A lot of people tend to log in at this time. Uche, I'm going to bring you in because I don't know why our other guests are having issues with network. So Uche, I would have loved to hear from Atai Kide. Ata, is your network okay now? I don't think so. I don't think his network is still okay. So Uche, be an advocate here and help us understand what are these complaints that the other tribes have against Igbos, which in your opinion you already said this was not true, but what are some of these complaints?
Okay, thank you. Yes, they had their complaints, and when you are offended, when someone offends you, it is left for you to explain or say what the person did to you, and it is not in that person that committed that to explain how offensive that action may be. The person at the receiving end has the right to express it the way he or she feels about it, and that's what I think I should say on that. But looking at the critical complaints, looking at the points raised by the complaints, people who complained, and you find out some of them lack merit. For example, one Ibibio was complaining to the community that the Igbo people have taken over the market square at that time, and his reason was that they bring their people to they bring their people from the hinterland to be able to hijack the market. And what did he do? He started campaigning house to house across the Calabar, telling people not to buy anything from the Igbos. He complained and went around even making the announcements on the street. But what happened? The Igbo people came together and counseled him. I think the council culture has always been there for the Igbos. When we talk about council culture, Igbo people have been practicing council culture. They counseled him. Nobody buys from him. Nobody interacts with him. His market, in fact, everything about his wares started, going down, and he started a lot of acrimonious campaign against the Igbos. He led a lot of bad campaigns against the Igbos. And when the commission came up with the report, they said that it was not reasonable enough. I understand that the Igbo people can actually be, sometimes they say that we can actually be abrasive, and sometimes they say that we are arrogant, we are not humble, and we are not, there are so many. And you know, some of these words are not the Igbo words. Humble, arrogant, they're not the Igbo word. What it means is that anybody can actually be that. Now, because of the way we are migratory people, we move in numbers from one place to another. And I have this feeling that if there are much people from a particular tribe within my environment, I may feel threatened, and they are very successful. They are doing well, better than I am doing. That there is every high tendency that I may feel threatened. The last time I was with Barrister, he used certain words, and these words were humble. They should be humble. They should, you know, stop their arrogance. And you know, these are the very popular words they usually use to describe the Igbo man, because we believe that, you know, not culturally, we believe that, you know, no human is superior to other, and we do not bow to any human. That the only person that we can bow to is to God, because as far as you're not feeding me, that you don't have any jurisdiction over me. And that has always been the, you know, typical Igbo man. You know, so some people may find it very uncomfortable. I don't think any Igbo man can tell his fellow Igbo man that, you know, most of the things that they tell, you know, they say to us, I don't think any Igbo group would say that to another group, because they know that we exist through competition, and everybody knows that what Igbo people thrives on competition. And if you are doing something, mostly in culturally, people take names based on what they can achieve. Your name most times reflects what you have achieved or what you have done. It's not basically what you inherited. Nobody cares about what your father was. It is what you have achieved yourself. So there is this thrive for every Igbo man to achieve something for him or herself. So that drive is what propels us to go very far and wide to achieve what we want to achieve. And that has been a huge threat, like, as recorded by the British or the other historians who figured out one or two things that are very, you know, unique about the Igbo people. There's something Maximus wanted to say before he was off, and it was about how the Igbo people, Igbo slaves were no longer desirable because of how rebellious, how they were quick to commit suicide, how they never liked subjugation and slave, you know, subjected to slavery. So it was not desirable to have Igbo slaves at that time, because you remember what happened in Virginia when a lot of Igbo people committed suicide, Igbo landing, and the reason is because they refused, you know, to be subjugated to slavery, and that is typical Igbo man. They rather committed suicide. So they are prone to that. They are prone to rebellious. They don't. They are very unyielding. You know. So some of these characteristics. There are some of these characteristics are the things that upsets some of our neighbors. And if you have lived with Igbo people for years, you'll be able to get in tune with some of these things. But if you are meeting them for the first time, you feel intimidated. You feel that these people are coming to grab, are coming to take over, are coming to do this and do that. But
all
not
right,
until
Uche, I'm going to come back to you. You said a couple of important things. And at Taikide, I'm hoping that your internet is okay right now, Ms. Barrister Taikide. Uche said so many things about the Igbo man, and while your internet was not working, Maximus also alluded to some things. And even when Regina Askia was here, she made some comments. From what everybody has said, whether you want to say it that the relationship was like a brother-sister relationship, or if it was a neighbor to neighbor relationship, it was a cordial one. And then if you can accept that it was a brother-sister relationship, it was also a cordial one. A lot of the things I've heard are good things. Now, Ataikide, help us understand, why is it that even after all of these assertions people have made to the kind of relationship that existed between the Igbo and their neighbors, why is it that there seems to be some disagreement? And what are those disagreements? What are those bones that you think some people, to your own understanding, want to pick with Igbos? If you can help us here, I want us to enlighten us from your own perspective as an Ibibio man, and knowing, well, let us talk about the Ibibio people. And I hope your internet can let you speak now, because I don't see you moving. I think your own internet is still hooked. I don't know why this keeps happening. Ataikide, are you trying to connect with another thing? You're probably trying to connect with another device, but I don't know what is happening.
I think Maximus is back. Can you add in?
I'm sorry.
I think Atta can speak. Atta can speak
from here. The reception is so bad. Can you call me and ask the question, because I can't hear the question from here. I can hardly hear that question from here. So maybe you want to like call me on WhatsApp and ask me the question, because I can't hear it from here. So
So I'm calling Ataikide on WhatsApp. I'm hoping that he can pick the call and network is really, really bad. Hello, you're on.
your reception is so poor. Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Oh, did you say my reception is poor?
Yeah, well, because I can't hear, but I can hear now. I can hear through this WhatsApp. So can I speak through this?
Okay, if you say it's my reception, I'm sorry about that, but every other person is connecting. But go ahead.
Yeah.
My question was, based on everything that we've heard now, about relationships between the Igbo and their neighbors, what then do you think is the bone that the Ibibio people, for instance, because you said you can only speak for the Ibibio people, what bones do you think the Ibibio people have to pick with the Igbos?
Well, okay. Can you see me, or is just the voice you can hear?
Okay, maybe let me connect by video. Let me connect by video. Yeah. So, okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
So I'm requesting you to connect by video. I'm waiting for you to connect by. Okay, good.
Brilliant.
So okay. So go ahead. People can see you.
Okay. Wonderful. Great. Now I'll tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
The Igbos and the Ibibios have had a century-long relationship.
Mm-hmm.
A relationship that spans centuries. I mean, economic relationship, a social relationship, even a political relationship in history, when you look at the arrows.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have any bone to pick with the Igbos. I mean, if you come to Akwa Ibom,
mm-hmm.
Uyo, for example, Chidi, 95% of the shops in
We lost you again. We lost you again. I don't think it's my fault. We can't hear you. Oh, okay. Sorry. A call came in. Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, a call was coming in. Sorry about that.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. So I'm saying, I said in Uyo, for example, 90 to 95% of the shops are owned by Igbos.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Ibibios have no problem whatsoever with the Igbos. In fact, cheating. If you drive down to the new airport that Godswill Akpabio built, it's quite some distance from the capital city. It's actually not run. Half of the land has been bought by the Igbos. Now, if we had this hatred for the Igbos, I mean, none of those things would have happened. So the Ibibios have no problem whatsoever with the Igbos, my brother.
Mm-hmm.
But, Chidi,
Yeah.
when the Igbos now talk about us being a part of Biafra,
Mm-hmm.
let me not say the Igbos, let me say the IPOBs. When the IPOB now talk about us being a part of Biafra, and when the IPOB now draw up this map and capture Akwa Ibom State in Biafra, that is when we have a problem.
And why? Why is this so? Why is this so?
Well, first of all, it's very, very disrespectful. Very disrespectful, almost insulting. If I wanted to build a house, Chidi, next to your house, and you came to my house and you found out that the survey of my house, my unbuilt house, also includes your own land, how would you feel about that? You've not spoken to me. You've not consulted me. We've had no meetings. How would you feel about that? Chidi, I'm asking you a direct question. How would you feel about that?
Okay. You see, let me try to lay the foundation here.
No,
I'm going.
Yes or no.
I am going to. No.
House,
see,
the plan of my house encroaches the map of my house, the survey map encroaches into your own land. How would you feel about it?
Okay, if we are able to prove it, I will not feel all right. But
okay, fine.
But let me.
Fine. There's a map.
So let me tell you something. This will guide you. This will guide you. I don't want us to go into rhetoric. The essence of having this is for us to be direct. You know, I asked you what the problem of the Ibibio man is. And what I hear you saying here is that one of the problems is you believe that the discussion of Biafra was initiated without due consultation. Is that what you're saying?
Not only that.
Okay.
I was coming to something else. Not only that.
Okay.
The Ibibios have a very painful, hurtful, and resentful feeling towards Biafra because of what happened during the Civil War.
What's that thing that happened?
Well, Chidi, what happened during the Civil War was, you must understand this, okay, that the Ibibios did not want to leave Nigeria. Majority of our people had no intention to leave Nigeria.
Why?
Well, we had no intention to leave Nigeria because we had no problems with Nigeria. We had no problems with Nigeria. What happened? What escalated, and why some of us felt that Nigeria was against us was because we had some of our people in the north. And when the pogrom of 1967, when the pogrom of 1967 started, when the Hausas started killing the Southerners in the north, you see, the Hausas made no distinction between the Igbos and the Ibibios and the Igbos and the Shekiris and the Effiks. Everyone who was in Kano, Sokoto, Kaduna was Nyamri. There was no distinction. And so they were killing everybody. But really, who were those that were responsible for this? Because we have to go back to the coup of January 1915. We had nothing to do with that coup. The retaliation in July of 1966, we had nothing to do with it. In fact, hardly did the Northern soldiers kill any of our people because we had nothing to do with it.
Okay, let me ask you. Sorry, there was a call coming. Let me ask you a question at this point because this is a very, very vital point. The whole talk about the war is humongous. We may not be able to finish discussing it here, but at this point in time, I want to ask a pertinent question. Do you believe that there were atrocities committed during the time of this war and that they were not justified? Or are you saying that you, and by extension the Ibibios, are saying that, hey, this thing does not concern us? It's between you Igbos and you Hausa or Fulani people. So it doesn't matter whether it was whether heinous crimes were committed, whether it was a massacre, whether it was a pogrom, as long as it was not us that caused it, because you kept saying we were not involved. Is that under the premise that you are beginning to lay your arguments or beginning to make your statements?
No, Chidi, what I'm trying to say is this, okay, and this is something we cannot escape, all right? Now, because I have to retrace this argument, all right? I hope you don't mind. I have to retrace this argument. Now, listen. Granted, the soldiers that participated in the 1966 January 15th coup were patriots, in quote. And yes, granted, Chidi, that there were so many things that were going wrong in our nation. And granted, our people, Nigerians, got frustrated and needed answers to the corruption that was going on at that time. And a group of soldiers came together. In quote, patriotically, they were patriots. Unfortunately, Chidi, the core of this group of soldiers was made up of Igbos. You know it, I know it. In fact, the only major in that coup who played a very significant role was Major Wale Adomega. I think that was his name. Every other soldier, officer in that coup was Igbo, apart from Zogu, which some Igbos say, well, Zogu was not Igbo. Zogu was Midwest. Ifejuna was Igbo. Okay. Ifejuna was Igbo. Nwabosi, Captain.
Well, Captain. Hold on there. Let me direct you properly, Ataikide. I interviewed Nwabosi before his death. I have a video of my interview with him and his explanation of that coup. It's on my it's the videos on my channel. So I don't want us to go. What I want us to pinpoint here, because like I said, if we go into that, we may not be able to finish it here. What I want to extract from you, your national TV, we're having this very frank discussion is this. This argument that, assuming that all the people who even participated in that coup were all Igbos, all of them, no exception, were Igbos. Just like people going to, let's say there was an armed robbery in a bank that belonged to Nigerians. And in that armed robbery, they were all Ibibios that were the people that robbed that bank. Would there be a justification to kill every Ibibio man in the world because of that bank robbery?
Okay, all right. Let's use that example.
Yes.
Armed robbery was carried out by Ibibios.
Yes.
Okay, all right. But most of the bank staff were Igbos, from the manager right down to the clerk that receives the teller. And the Ibibio armed robbers killed, murdered.
Yes.
The Igbo manager,
yes.
deputy manager, okay.
Now I agree with you. I agree with you.
Okay,
so
Chidi, you asked me, hold on, Chidi.
Okay.
Now, even though that was not the intention of the armed robbers, that was not the intention. The armed robbers went there to rob.
I agree.
But unfortunately, they robbed a bank that was owned by Igbos.
Okay.
Now, hold on, Chidi. They killed the Igbos. Now, let me tell you something. If in that town there was an Igbo population, and the news filtered out that there's this Ibibio armed robbery gang that came from Etina and robbed this bank and slaughtered most of the Igbos, and in fact slaughtered the Igbos and left their own people, did not touch their own people, what would the perception of the Igbos be over that armed robbery?
Okay.
The perception would be nobody would even consider the fact that the armed robbers went there to steal money. The perception would be, because remember, the Igbos that were killed in that bank were husbands, they were wives, they were brothers, they had relatives in the community. Obviously, the Igbo community will be angered, they'll be angry, they'll be upset. And knowing Igbos, they would retaliate. Now, this was what happened in July, because that's why I say we cannot talk about the civil war and the conscription of the Ibibios, forced conscription of the Ibibios, without talking about what happened in 1966. Because listen, my brother, in 1966, Ahmadu Bello was killed by Nzogo. Okay, let's leave Nzogo out of this. He was from the Midwest. Ife Juna from Onitsha, I think that's where it comes from. Ife Juna killed, listen, Tafawa Balewa. He murdered May Malari, who was his camp commandant and was the highest Hausa Fulani officer at the time. May Malari had escaped from his house, and what had happened was that Major Okafor had gone in to shoot him. May Malari had escaped behind his house, was crossing the road, when he now saw Ife Juna. Ife Juna was the major of his brigade. He was the commandant brigade in Lagos at that time. He flagged down Ife Juna, thinking that Ife Juna was not part of the coup. Ife Juna saw him and shot him dead. These deaths are what angered the Northerners. So when the Northerners now retaliated in July, and unfortunately Ronsi, who had nothing to do with the coup, died, they were targeting Igbos, not Ibibios, not Igbos. They were targeting Igbo officers. And so many Igbo officers died in that revenge attack, which obviously culminated in Gowon now becoming the head of state. However, this was a problem. When the crisis now exploded in the north, because you see, it was the Hausa soldiers that identified the Igbos. In fact, Major Kafo, I think it was Major Kafo, he was actually dragged out of prison where he had been detained and killed. So the Hausa soldiers knew the Igbo soldiers, but the Hausa Fulanis, the ordinary men, the populace, did not know they could not distinguish between Igbos and Ibibios. So when the pogrom started in the north, when they were killing people, all they just needed to say was Nyamri. It didn't matter if you were Ibibio, it didn't matter if you were Igbo, and they started killing us. My uncle who owned the petrol station narrowly escaped from the north, and he came down south. Now, people like that, Ibibios like that escaped from the north, now had a certain resentment towards the north. Because now, the focus was no longer the Igbos. The north had now lumped everybody into this, and we had nothing to do with it. So what happened, Chidi, was there was a split in the Ibibio land. You had the Ibibios who had grown up in the north, who had business in the north, who had escaped from the north and come down south, who aligned themselves with the Igbos. Then you had the Ibibios, majority, who had never left the region, who said, look, we have nothing to do with this war. And my brother, I hope you know that Ibibios were forcefully conscripted. Ibibios that were in Igbo land were forcefully conscripted into the Biafran army. And in 1970, when the Nigerian troops were taking over Ibibio land, when they were coming in from Ekiti, escaping Igbos shot, murdered, and killed our people, because our people saw the Nigerian soldiers as saviors, and the Igbo soldiers resented this, and they killed a lot of us as they were withdrawing and going down to Biafra. That's what happened.
Okay, thank you, Atta. I'm going to bring in Maximus. Maximus, I'm sure you heard what Attaikide said. I want you to respond to this.
Well, Attaikide, God bless you, sir. You have spoken well. But I would want to ask you just one question before I make any other explanation. When Nigerian soldiers conquered the old Cross River area, consists of Akwa Ibom and the modern day Cross River, they murdered important personalities that were actually wholeheartedly supporting Biafra, and some that were members of federal lawmaking house and also the regional members of lawmaking house. I have here a document proving what I'm telling you. This document is produced by Ojukwu and Effiong when they addressed the Constituent Assembly about the situation of things during the war and also before the war. Names here is Mr. A.A. Obot, Principal, Lodaran High School, and former member of Eastern House of Assembly. He was tied on a Land Rover until he died. The second name here is Prince Umo Ndak, member of Federal House of Representatives. That is Federal Lawmaking House. He was also killed in Uyo. The third name here is Mr. H.U. Akpabio, minister in the former Eastern Nigerian government. he was also killed. These are people that held position before the war. But because they are perceived to be Biafran sympathizers, part of what I feel, there's also the 5th name and the 6th name and the 7th name and the 8th name. The 5th name here is Mr. J.B. Omana, information attaché to the former Eastern Nigerian Deputy High Commission in London, who was in Nigeria at that time. The 6th name here is Chief O.U. Afia, Minister in former Eastern Nigerian government. There's also Mr. H.O. Akpan Odo, member of Federal House of Representatives, another federal lawmaker. There's also R.A. Umo, and there's also Yuyu Okure. So what I'm trying to say, was I audible all along?
Yeah. We heard you.
Okay. What I'm trying to say here is this. What played out in the West Niger Igbo, where they perceived Nzogu to come from, because he repeated here that Nzogu is from Midwest, not Igbo. Even when the Nigerian soldiers got to Benin, they dragged out one of the sons of the soil from the West Niger, a colonel at the time. I will remember his name. His nickname is the big man. He's very tall. He was dragged out from the prison and murdered. Guess what? Him himself was not even pro-Biafra. During the war itself in West Niger, for instance, I'm just giving you an example. General Iweze, who fought on the Nigerian side, him alone lost 21 family members. What is the outcome of this after the war? It becomes that the reason why we did all this receive all this dying and deaths is Igbos of the East Niger, and therefore we had to hate them because we cannot interpret why they brought us this atrocity. That is also what played out in Akwa Ibom. When Nigerian soldiers conquered Uyo, the same thing they did in Port Harcourt. When they almost annihilated the family of, there's this man from Ogoni, who was one of the Biafran representatives in Uganda Peace Accord. He also went to Aburi Peace Accord. When they got Uyo, every Uyo person that is perceived to be a supporter of Biafra were all murdered in one of the most worrisome, gruesome manner. If you look at, there was a country by Chenua. Chenua consulted using federal documents, local newspaper, foreign newspaper, and also oral accounts from the local people in Cross River in Akwa Ibom. They were Calabar massacre. The Calabar massacre was not perpetrated by Biafrans or their sympathizers. It was perpetrated by a Nigerian soldier. So somehow, like also you are exhibiting now. I'm not trying to be personal, and I'm not blaming you. It's possible if I'm you, I will actually be more angry than you, sincerely. That because this thing did not concern us, and because it is of no concern to us, we're dragged into it, and therefore I lost lots of people. Based on this, I will be very angry with you, Mr. Maximus, because this naturally was your fight. That was what happened. Not that I, Maximus, actually committed atrocities unto you. By forced conscription is not alien to the time when the war happened. The period of the war was the period that replaced the period when war was desirable. As at that time during the war, at the height of the Cold War, conscription by force happens everywhere all over the world. It happened in Igbo land. It happened in the West Niger Igbo. It happened in the Nigerian side. Let me quote. Who is this guy? I think John de St. John. The story about Nigerian civil war, which he later retitled about Brothers at War. He said during the war, the Nigerian soldiers basically don't really have an active navy. But after consultation with the British, somehow the sea blockade was perfected. Anyways, if I give you that analogy to interpret, break it down and put it in 5 sentences, what happened? You know that foreign soldiers actually perfected the sea blockade for Nigerian soldiers because we don't really, at that point in time, the FGN cannot lay hand on an organized navy. So that Biafran actually compelled some men of Ibibio within the age of adults, I don't know. I haven't been able to lay hand on documents that support by force conscription and also by force conscription of an underage. But I'm not saying it didn't happen. If I laid hand on it, I will give you one document that actually supports it. But if it happens and basically maybe adult of fighting age, at that time, it happens everywhere.
All right, thank you very much. Atta, I'm going to come back to you, but first of all, Uche, if you can come on, I want you to react to this issue, because today is almost like a truth and reconciliation thing we're doing. So
sorry,
yes.
So let me also chip something. My story of the Civil War by General Effiong. Effiong made some analysis. Part of the early statement he made there was that he said, Ojukwu was busy with diplomats, foreign relation, and help that Biafra could get from outside world. I was basically in charge of most of the day-to-day activity of Biafra. I could categorically tell you that before the war, Biafra had not more than 120 outdated rifle. This is Effiong talking. And in his work, Effiong did not make reference to by force conscription of his people. Do you understand what I'm saying here? Because I also have Effiong's work. In my house, I'm seated by my carton. If you look at this carton, it's basically books.
Okay.
So I am not saying he's lying, but what I'm saying here is that I need document that supports that. And if eventually it does happen, it happened at the period when it was the norm, not an exception.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for that. Now, Uche, I want you to react to what Taikide said about the fact that the bone of contention for the Ibibio man is that the coup that started everything, they were not part of it, and yet their people were killed because of that. What do you have to? What's your reaction?
Okay. First, I want to thank Maximus for giving us that historical perspective. I don't want to agree. I don't want to believe that what started the acrimony or the suspicion on the Igbo started in 1966. Mm-hmm. And I would also like us to appreciate what led to the coup, because each time we talk about this coup and we don't mirror what actually led to that coup, we tend to miss the bigger picture or the real situation at that time.
Yeah.
What led to the coup, if I may ask? I would say that, of course, we know what happened in the Western Nigeria when some faction led by the Akintola were fighting his Oga, Awolowo, in collaboration with the federal government. That led to Operation Wete, that led to killings and the maimings of people in the streets of Ibadan and Lagos, majorly in the Western region.
Yeah.
And of course, destabilization of the Western region totally. In the North, there was ethnic cleansing going on the Tiv people. They were practically being wiped out by the federal forces. And according to Nwobosi and who else made this account? I think I read it somewhere again. I can't remember now. According to Nwobosi, I think it was
Ademoyega supported what you're saying, and
exactly.
Zog also says so. That was when they were supposed to using military might on peaceful civilians.
Exactly. Now, another one is that Nzogu was the first Nigerian to head military intelligence in Nigeria. He's the first Nigerian after the British. And Zogu got access to a lot of exclusive information on how they've already planned to carry out jihad, according to Nwobosi. I think he said this on his interview, one of the interviews on YouTube. You can check it out there. And when they got hold of that, they preempted that situation. And what it did, in quote, according to, let me use the word by Barrister, he said it's in quotes. It was a patriotic action. Remember, that coup was widely celebrated, and a whole lot of Nigerians were happy because what was happening at that time was extreme impunity. The people were, in fact, it was almost like a war was happening even before the coup. And British, in their usual way, started targeting the coup, Igbo coup, despite the fact that the likes of Ademoyoga, who was one of the figurehead, or should I say, the brain box behind this coup. And remember, there are so many other foot soldiers that participated who are of northern origin, not just the Igbos. You know, this is contrary to what a lot of people have said, especially Barrister. And we should also know that majorly, people who were at the high top rank military at that time were mostly the Igbo people. And of course, you would appreciate the fact that it led to their preponderance of their number in that queue. Then, even before that queue, there was no Northerner who was at the top rank at that time, because the qualification and certification to be enlisted into military, you have to go through rigorous means, which was actually supervised by the British themselves. And after that, after the counter coup, that was what led in the likes of Buhari and the other unworthy people who are not worthy enough to be enlisted. Okay, that's beside the point. Now, let me go into the coup proper. After that coup, we had counter coup, and this led to the bloodshed and pogrom that happened in the north, where every person that considered to be non-Hausa or non-Northerner were killed. At that time, the people of the Southeast, or the Igbo people, made an arrangement to have their people down to the east where they can be protected. At that time, it was called Eastern Region. And Eastern Region comprised of the Jaws, the Ogoni, the Kwere, the Anang, the Efik, and all the minorities at that time. And remember, when these things were happening, the people who were bringing back our people from the north didn't discriminate, and of course, people who were being killed were also every member of that region. Now, when they got back home, remember, they agreed to carry out so many things, including negotiation, like Aburi Accord, which was attended by so many leaders from the Anang, from Aqua Cross, I should say, from other parts of the Eastern region. And like Akpabio, I remember one man named Akpabio, I can't remember the other name, who accompanied Ojukwu to Ghana, Aburi Accord. So what I'm trying to say is that the activities or the things being carried out at that time were carried out by Eastern region. It wasn't exclusively Igbo. Now, the atrocities that always been attributed to the Igbo soldiers, it's something that I have consistently denied, and I will consistently deny it, because at that time it was not Igbo soldiers, it was Biafran soldiers, because it constituted people from all the Eastern region. There is no way you can deny this, because if you look at the history, the people who were in charge of different provinces were members of those ethnic groups. For example, in Anang, in Ibibio, in Degema, in Port Harcourt, all of that, they all had indigenous people, manning and representing those places. Recruitment process, forceful recruitment happened in hinterland. It also could happen in the southern Biafra at that time. And you could recall that the person that gave the name Biafra was an Ijoman Frank Opigo, who happens to be the biggest loser of abandoned property, whose property is currently the Rivers State College of Arts and Science, where it is currently situated. And of course, we have to also appreciate or understand the fact that the Ibibios were majorly part of this, especially those who share boundaries with Aba. They have similar culture in every facet. And if Biafra had won this war, the conversation wouldn't have been this. I want us to understand this. But because of losers, we lost the war, and every blame was on us. From the north, from the west, from the north, every part of the country blamed and resented the Igbo people. To the extent that a lot of people.
Let me even add something, like when you were mentioning about.
I'm going to come back to you, Maximus, but because
wait. I
kept Ata. I wanted him to react, but also if you guys just round off your statements in one sentence, and let me get back to Ata.
Achuzia was one of the most successful Biafran soldiers, senior officers, field officers, and his second in command, whom both of them actually blew the Niger Bridge, was Lieutenant Nsudo, an Akwa Ibibio man, whom the credit of almost killing Moritala Mohammed was given to these two individuals. Check, there was a country by Cheno Achebe. I think page 180 something or thereabouts. Is an Ibibio boy.
All right, thank
Sincerely.
you.
Okay. Okay. Of course, well. Let me submit by saying that the Biafra struggle and the war and whatever that led to that was not exclusively the Igbos' struggle. And I have consistently said that the recruitment process, the leadership process, we are actually selected based on the ethnic, regions of, that represented each provinces. And I will continue to say this because there is actually facts to back up this. And I want to say this again. It will be controversial, but I will say it because I heard it from the Nwobosi's mouth. He said that most of the massacre that committed, the Nigerian state committed, especially in the Goja area, that they disguised as Biafran soldier. He said it. There is a YouTube to that, that they disguised as the Nigerian military disguised as Biafran soldiers to commit a lot of atrocities, to continue to perpetrate that.
Okay, that actually sounds like a rounding up of your own contribution. So Uche, yes. I'm gonna come back to you, but I mean we got your point. Now back to you, my brother Ikide. You know what prompted me going back to Maximus and Uche, is the assertion that this coup was an Igbo coup. I mean, it's quite surprising to hear someone from the Southeast reinforce it in the manner you have done. But that's the essence of this whole discussion. But you would agree with me, or I want to know whether you agree, that the actions that led to that coup, there was a general acceptance by people of the Western Nigeria, and by Western I mean the Southeast and the South and everybody on the West that is not the North. There was a kind of consensus agreement that enough was enough, and there was support for that coup. Or my question is this: are you trying to say that the Ibibio people and some other tribes who now have this resentment to the Igbo people, that they are saying there was forget that things went wrong, and they now feel that, oh, because of these people's mistakes, you were attacking us? Are you trying to say that Ibibios believe there was no reason for that coup? Or are you saying that, okay, there was a reason for that coup, but things went wrong, and because things went wrong and our people had to suffer for it, that's why we're angry? That is one. Secondly, you know, because we were big on conscription. And you've heard them now say that, in fact, let me give you a background story. My middle name is Cadet. They call me Chidi Cadet. And a lot of people keep wondering, why are you Cadet? The reason why my name is Cadet, because I was born during the war in 1969, was because of forced conscription. My father, who is an Igbo man from Enugu State, not an Anang man, not an Ibibio man, was going to be conscripted into the war, into the Biafran army. But a friend of his, who was a senior officer in the army, did not want him to be conscripted. So instead, he made him a contractor and a supplier. So he was supposed to be one of the cadet officers of the Biafran army. And so that his friend saved him from that conscription because he was educated, was going to be taken in as an officer, and made a way for him not to be an army officer, but he was helping with the supplies and helping with logistics. So he now named me cadet officer to remind him of what he could have been. So, but do you, after hearing all this, do you believe, or where is this thing coming from, that the first conscription may have been targeted maybe only at Ibibio people or Anang people, and not, like Maximus explained, something that was synonymous with the war and what was happening that time? Because at a desperate situation, they did a lot of desperate things. So I want you to react to that. So two of them, the coup and then the conscription, first conscription.
Okay. All right, okay. My brother Chidi, you know, you and I were brothers.
Oh, yeah.
And we often are very honest and brutal with ourselves.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something that has never been addressed.
Mm-hmm.
With regards to the January 1966 coup. I listened to that interview by Captain Mabusi on your wall some weeks back. Now listen, my brother. Here's what Mabusi said, and I quote him. He said we had received intelligence that the northern officers were about to annex Western region. Do you remember that statement he made?
Mm-hmm.
When we received this intelligence, we had to move in with our coup to preempt. The northern coup, according to him, was supposed to have taken place on the 16th or the 17th of January.
Yeah.
Okay. They said they had to preempt that northern coup by springing in their own surprise.
It was not a coup.
Hold on.
I didn't say it was a coup.
No,
I said it was a jihad. Jihad, not coup. No, jihad. I didn't say coup.
Northern officers, the North. He did not say. He did not say NCNC action group. And he specifically. That means it was not a political issue. This was an ethnic and regional issue. And the reason why this is important is because the moment we quote what Mwabosi says, the whole political reason for this coup falls apart completely. He specifically said the North were annexing the West on the 16th and 17th of January, they now had to move in to stop that from happening. And that's where their coup now, that's where their coup was now enacted. Now, let me tell you the implication of that statement. The implication of that statement, Cadet, is this: that the coup was not a political coup. It was a tribal and was an ethnic coup directed at the North, not at NPC, not directed at Action Group, not directed at NCNC. If I want to quote Mwabosi, and Mwabosi was in charge of Ibadan. There were two people that were in charge of the West, Captain Mwabosi and Major Ifejuna. So this is coming from a ring leader. Now, listen, Chidi. They said they had credible evidence, credible intelligence. Up till tomorrow, as we are speaking, none of the soldiers, whether Igbo or Yoruba or whosoever, that instigated the January 15, 1966 coup has named any Northerner, not one Northerner. They've not named any Northerner that was a part of the so-called 16th and 17th January coup. No evidence of arms. There's no evidence of this supposedly intelligence that they said they received. Nothing. If there was intelligence, okay, and if Nzogu, who had been accused of masterminding this coup, and I tell you something, Nzogu was not the mastermind of this coup, it was Ifejuna, because Nzogu was the junior officer to Ifejuna. They were both majors, but Ifejuna was a brigade major. So in effect, he was the one that led this coup. Nzogu's name only came up because Nzogu was one that killed Ahmadu Bello, who was at that time the most powerful leader in the North. That's why Nzogu's name comes up. But the people who actually hatched this coup from August 1965 was Ifejuna and Major Kafu. Nzogu only was drafted into this coup in September 1965. Now, let me move on from there. You instigated a coup. You enacted a coup against what you call credible evidence. And you've not been able to give. Let me tell you something. There have been many books that have been written about the 1966 coup. Many books and materials. But one thing is missing. That intelligence that Nzogu and his friends acted. Where is the intelligence that the North were going to annex Western region? There's not.
Okay, let me redirect. Let me redirect. No, I'm not cutting you off, but we are dealing. Listen now, we are dealing with time. I'm not cutting you off. Trust me now. Listen, I'm not cutting you off. This is to help us. Yes.
What I'm trying to say here, Chidi, is this.
Yeah.
Do you see why sometimes when Igbos try to make this thing look like a patriotic takeover or coup, which, people like me will say, okay, for the benefit of that, okay, fine. But you see that when you now listen to words from Captain Mwabosi himself, and I'm quoting him from your own interview that you gave to him, you would see that this thing had moved from being political to being ethnic and regional, my brother. And this was why there was a backlash, a northern targeted strategic backlash against only Igbo officers. nobody else, except members of other tribes that were implicated in that coup. And now what happened, my brother? When the pogrom now started in the north, everyone that was a southerner, Edo, Delta, Ishekiri, Ijo, Ibibio, Efik, were all lumped together with the Igbos, killed and slaughtered, driven out from the north. We now come down south. Ojukwu now declares Biafra. And there was a split in the Ibibio land. Our political leaders now aligned themselves to Ojukwu because they had no choice. And I agree with you. I agree with one of the young men that spoke. Nigerian soldiers killed a lot of Ibibios. One girl that I brought in from London to Akwa Ibom State, when Gowon was planning, when Godswill Akpabio was planning an occasion for us to remember our people that were killed by Nigerian soldiers. I brought that girl, Afia. You mentioned her father's name. Someone mentioned her father's name. Her father was a minister. Nigerian soldiers killed him. And guess what happened? Gowon apologized to her officially, came to London and apologized to her personally. This is what the Igbos have not done for us. Now, if anybody out there is telling me that Igbo soldiers did not kill Ibibio soldiers, I leave it to your conscience. But I'm telling you what I know. I'm telling you what our people have said. I'm telling you from historical records, and that the pain of what happened in the Biafran War is a bruising we'll never forget. And that is why we don't want to hear anything about Biafra. We're happy to have the Igbos in Uyo, Etina, Eket, everywhere to do their business, buy our land, no problem. Any issue about Biafra, no Ibibio man or Anang man wants to hear it.
Okay, but let me start from where you stopped. It will be, of course, you even know that as a lawyer and an educated person, that it will be totally out of order for you to stay here and say every Ibibio man, of course, that is very impossible. Just like I can't stand here and say every Igbo man do this or that. What we are just trying, what we are saying is representative here. You know, whatever opinions we express here are just what they are, our own opinions. I was going to, let me see if I can get, for the benefit of people who don't know what we are talking about, let me share this thing with you guys. I don't know if I tracked it correctly, but this was Mobosi on my channel. Let me see if, and I'm going to move from here because people have been asking me, what has this got to do with where we are right now? I'm coming. Let me share this and hope that the audio will even
I'm going to make a bold statement.
Oh, no. All these people, this YouTube advert, sorry.
Getting the war on. That it was the Juku who killed it. Well, the Juku that I knew couldn't have been that active. One, killed, or whatever. Yeah. So I opened it up. We didn't even sit down because there was no time. He came to me, said he just went to Lagos to brief the other group that because of the change in circumstances, that the news, the latest news was that the Sadana people were going to strike on January 17th, that 1966. So
when you say strike, what was their plan? What were they going to strike? What was the plan? The Sadana people.
Their plan was to take over the West. And by taking over the West, of course, they've almost taken over the whole of Nigeria. Remember that Usman Danfodi had taken part of the West.
Yes.
Up to Ilorin.
Yeah. Okay. The reason why I wanted to share that little bit of video, and for the benefit of those of us who are watching, it's on Worship Media TV channel. If you go to our playlist and you do a search, you will see that video and you'll be able to listen. Those were one of the last interviews that Colonel Nwobosi had before he died. God bless his soul. We worked so hard to get that interview on because we know it was going to be a piece of history. So I'll advise you to go and watch that video on our channel. Now, the point that I want to make, thank you so much, my brother Ataikide. If you listen to Nwobosi, because you talked about evidence, I am not sure you are someone who also likes history and you follow history. There's been videos of I think it was Sadwana, that video where he was saying
this is about what he's saying here is about jihad. It's not about military takeover. So Uche is perfectly correct when he make reference in referencing Ottoman Danfodio.
Exactly.
In continuation of Danfodio's 1804 jihad. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say also. I need us to, I don't want us to become too technical here. If somebody is oppressing you, they are already oppressing you, whether it be militarily or tribally or whatever. They are whether he's using religion or they are oppressing you. And we are all in agreement here. But the point I wanted to make here, and I'm also trying to be an umpire here, but if Ataikide, you are asking for evidence, I hope you are not trying to discredit the video where it was it not, who was it that was saying in that video that if there was a job that they had to give, they would rather give it to an outsider.
It's Sadwana. It's
the same Sadwana.
So yes, he was speaking to a white interviewer.
If that pre-existed before all of these things, it will not be hard for someone to, and honestly speaking, if you have classified something as intelligence, until we had the WikiLeaks, there are so many things that you just hear intelligence. That's why it's intelligence. So for us to sit down now and say, until somebody produces that evidence, we are not going to believe it. I'll just say, let us keep it aside where it belongs. When they say intelligence, it is intelligence. Let's just keep it right there. But the question that probably you forgot to answer, Ataikide, is the question of conscription, because it is one of the things that is annoying your people, that you believe the conscription was done, arbitrarily, or it was one-sided. Do we agree that the conscription happened in every part of the southeast and southwest, and not just in Ibibio land?
Well, conscription is a reality of war. Okay, conscription is a reality of war. Just hold on. Conscription is a reality of war. Okay, and so that is not actually the main grouse here, my brother. The grouse here is the fact that, and you see, Chidi, let us not lose focus why we are here this evening. we've often described Nigeria as a marriage that is fading. I've told you that it's not just the Igbos that killed us. In fact, the Nigerian soldiers killed us more than the Igbo soldiers.
Fact.
I mean, this was official. We have pictures of what happened. Let us move from this blame game, Chidi, to reconciliation.
Okay.
Let's move from this, you did this to me, you did that to me. Let's move from this arena of striving with one another to a place where we can sit down, have an honest talk of what happened during the war, where you bruised me during the war, where you hurt me during the war, where you killed my people during the war, and where I did the same thing to you during the war. Let's sit down. Let's have an honest discussion about this as a nation. Let's forgive one another and let us move on.
I like that. I like that. I like what you said. And to help you, tell us what you think because then we can move. I want us to move from here, but I don't want us to sweep anything under the carpet. When you come to equity, you come with clean hands. Tell us what you understood that Ibibio people did to Igbo people during the war, if any.
What did Ibibio do during the war?
Yes.
We did nothing. What did we do? We didn't do anything to the Ibibio. It was the Igbos. It was the Igbos that meted the atrocities on us. What did we do? I mean, you had the Nigerian soldiers killing us. You had the Igbo soldiers retreating that were killing us. We were just fodder. That's what happened. The Igbos accused us of being saboteurs. Because I told you that majority of our people did not believe in Ojukwu's breaking away from Nigeria. Majority of our people did not believe in it. I mean, these were just normal people that wanted to get on with their business. And remember that majority of our people at that time, in the 50s and 60s, had not left the region. They were born there, they schooled there, they lived there, they'd never been to the north, never been to Lagos. So when this war now erupted, and Ojukwu said we're breaking away from Nigeria, our people said, why? It was now our political leaders like my uncle, Akbar, N.U. Akbar, who was a secretary to Ojukwu, who now came down to explain to us that they are killing our people, that there is no more Igbo, Ibibio, Ijo, we're all Nyamari, and the Northerners are killing us. You better stand with this man, because he's the one that is going to save you. That was when some of our people now moved and started supporting Ojukwu. But majority had nothing to do with the war. They had no business with the war. They don't want to know anything about the war. And I think they did not like what was happening to them.
Okay.
And a lot of them, because of the anger, because of what Igbos were doing to them, physically, they will say they are Biafrans, but inside their hearts, they were Nigerians. And that was why Igbos referred to us as saboteurs and why they killed quite a number of us while they were retreating.
Okay. You see, the good thing is a lot of people, even on the chat, say Ata does not speak for Ibibio. Like I said, what we're expressing here is our personal opinions. Okay. So, but one thing you said that is clear. One thing you said that is clear here is that the fact that the Ibibio did not say that they don't agree with what they were hearing about the Biafran War or the concept or the things that led to the Biafran War, either, like you stated, mostly out of ignorance because of the way you expressed their status at that period, it was not possible for a lot of them to be as exposed as right now. So it doesn't mean those things were not happening, but they were not that traveled. And those that were traveled and those that were exposed had to come back to try to explain to the people. And so that thing of not agreeing, not understanding why we should be part of this, made them not to be in support. And naturally, even according to your narration, you will begin to see why somebody could begin to see them as, oh, this guy is a saboteur, because look at the way he doesn't even agree to what I'm doing. So, you know, when you don't agree to somebody's mission, you can be counterproductive to their mission. But let us leave that aside. There's something you said, and that's where I want us to start concluding the discussion. It's the point where you say, I think we should move further. Because believe it or not, no matter who you blame, at the end of the day, Ibibios were killed more by the Nigerian army than the Biafran army. The point I think,
accepted, yes.
Yeah. So the point, if I get you right, the point I think where we have a discontent and where there seems to be a hitch is the point where you are being an advocate, or you are, I don't know what word to use here, but you are beginning to make it look like the Nigerian army has, or the Nigerian government, the Nigerian side has made some gesture towards the Ibibio people by way of apologizing to them. I think you said through Go On, and you have not seen that come from the Igbo side. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so if that be true, Magnus, I want you to comment on this. Ata feels that Igbos have not apologized to Ibibio people about what happened during the war. What do you have to say to this?
Wow. Well, this is what I will say. Most time, I always believe that of the front is greater than of the back. There are reasons why our eyes are at the front. That is the first thing I want to say here. Then, secondly, apology is not a difficult thing. And to accept, especially when you know that it's coming from somebody who actually even suffered more than you suffered, it will even be a joyful thing for an Ibibio person to actually get an apology from an Igbo person. Sincerely, one thing is not arguable here, which is part of few things I'm disagreeing with Doctor. What is that thing? That thing is that Nigeria were in a total mess before the January coup. If you look at the book by Max Sillon, Oil, Politics and Violence, Max Sillon, you know, that's how I read my books. I often, I will just go to your references, your endnote, the source that you consulted to write your book. Max Sillon in this book made use of only government documents. He didn't consult the local people. So somehow, opinion of the local people is not really displayed here. What he explained here were all government documents, archived documents. Here, he quoted Nzogo in an official document. Nzogo was saying that Nigeria has become a mess where you cannot vote out a bad leader in an election, through election. When was he saying this? Or why was he saying this? Prior to this period was an election in the modern day North Central, where the people of Benue, the Kogi, the Biranko, and the Doma intended voting out the candidate of Northern People's Congress. But upon that, they voted out those people, but those people were at the same time announced winners, which resulted in a local agitation for North Central region as the way they eventually carve out Midwest. The first people that agitated for their own region was the North Central people. Ademola Ademoyoga mentioned this in Why We Struck. He said that was the first time that he came in contact with either Nzogu and Ifajuna, because for the first time in Nigerian history, as against Nigerian local constitution, the constitution that they inherited from the British, and as amended at that time, for the first time, military was drafted to local issue. The military then were all educated, not like the military we have now. Most of them, most of the commission officers were from the South. Most. Very few northern officers were commissioned, maybe Brigadier Mai Malari, and very few of them. So these are educated people who read white while a soldier, and even before a soldier. They knew that soldiers were not supposed to be drafted into domestic internal affairs, but they were drafted. They by force quell the North Central people, the Middle Belt people. They also knew that they were wrong in doing that, but they were all following orders. This book explained that. So eventually, when they were drafted in the Midwest, it was an extended or hybrid anger. So somehow, after the coup, I do have, if I search, some Western published newspapers. That was what popularized a Yoruba language that says bye-bye to Jati Jati. It was the bye-bye to Tafawa Balewa government. Because in the West there, where most of the more educated Nigerians were domiciled, people were tired of the corruption. In this same book, Max Leon quoted a principal in King's College, where the principal was complaining that how can the Tafawa Balewa government and the Sadwana of Sokoto, that's Ahmadu Bello, compel the principal of King's College to leave a space of a particular measure for northern students without going through the internal exam for admission. Some of these students were eventually admitted and they couldn't cope. So this principal, in an official report, was complaining of this. This paper made mention of it. These were accumulated, institutionalized corruption that happened that period that made these soldiers got tired. So I'm trying to explain that one thing is sure. The reason for 1966 coup was purely based on institutionalized corruption. The only place where they saw a perfect kind of government that they dreamt of having all over Nigeria was Western region, where Awo had built the first television in Africa, first stadium, and so on like that, which was why even Ademola Ademoyoga, in Why We Struck, Emefi and Ezani, in Diplomatic Plot, they all explain that having interviewed the coup plotters while they were still alive, that they all agreed that their intention was to make Awo our president. How they tend to do that is none of me and you's business. It's not my opinion. I'm quoting somebody who actually interviewed somebody.
To add to that. To add to that, just before you continue, in that interview with Nwobosi said it clearly, and you will see where he kept mentioning that he's too old to come here and be lying, and as if he said he has a few days to live on earth. So whatever he's saying, it will be, something that will follow him to his grave if he should lie against this generation. And what he was saying was the truth to the best of his ability. Okay, just round up, and I will turn over to
okay. So now the question I want to ask is that the question I want to ask Doctor here is this. I am, from my upbringing, I've taught
barrister. You mean barrister? You mean barrister, Atta?
Yes, barrister. Yeah, barrister. I meant I can't. Okay, barrister. The question I tend to ask barrister here is this: I know the importance of apology. It goes very far. Another thing that I know that is very bad is to tell somebody that you cannot do anything. You understand? Because no matter how small, the person can do something. On what capacity should Igbo apologize? Because Gowon apologized as a president of Nigeria. What caliber of Igbo should give an apology that will be acceptable? What group of Igbo, if there's no caliber in terms of individual, what group of Igbo should give this kind of apology? But at my own level, oh, now let me blow your mind. My wife is from Akwa Ibom. She's from Ini, local government. In the last 6 months, I've spent over a month in Akwa Ibom because most time, she's also a historian like me. So most time we go for research together. I am from Enugu State. At my own level, I can apologize. Why not? Barrister, I'm really sorry for whatever you feel that my people meted out to your people. One thing is sure. One of the anger, or one of the most important part of the anger here, sincerely, historically, is not even the mistakes my people made. It is what you and I was made to believe that they made. The FGN deliberately did some things that made me and you believe that we can never come together.
Exactly. That's the
otherwise, let me ask you a question. How is it that before the war, Ekweme, the former vice president, the late Ekweme of blessed memory, left Lagos? He was a landlord in Lagos before the war. After the war, he returned to Lagos, met his neighbor, handled his house. The neighbor remitted all the rent he collected for him for the over 2 years and some months. That is the owner of FCMB. Otumba, can't remember his first name. I know of 2 other Igbo friends whose father's house in Lagos, they did not lose. But the Igbo's neighbor in the rivers, in Ikwere, in Port Harcourt, all lost their houses. You know why? It is not just because the rivers people intended taking the Igbo's house. It is because the federal government actually encouraged them, backed them up, and made them understand that nothing will happen. That was why the abandoned property came to be. And they also knew that the end result is that when Igbo lose their property to their next door neighbor, the acrimony will be forever. And if the acrimony is forever, it then also means that Igbos and their brothers are divided. It then also means that it's easier for us to dominate the Igbos and their brothers. And that's why we and barristers are having this bitter truth we're having with ourselves.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You see, you've made a lot of salient points, and I'm going to go straight to that. Now, you will notice that there was something you said, Barrister Ataikide. You said your people, and we must consider that. It is not that there was not a problem. It is not, remember in the Bible where they say, is there no cause? There was a cause for the actions that were taken to be taken. Forget about the way it was presented. Maybe we say it was made tribal. However, I've said it before. But there was a cause in the land. That's a common denominator. So it will be surprising if after we agree that there was a reason for whatever took place, even though it was not done well, it would have been done differently, fine. But we've passed that. There's a question, a very pertinent question that Maximus now asked you, Atta. Even if, let's even say apologies were supposed to be tendered. We know the Igbo man lost so much, all those piles of bodies by virtue of arithmetic. The Igbo man lost like 1 Ibibio man to 200 Igbo men. But that doesn't mean that you consider life like that. Every one life is important. Every one life is as important as 1 million other one life. That's why countries that have a system that works will shut down their whole system to rescue one citizen. That's how important it is. So I'm not comparing people by their numbers. But even based on that, I agree with my brother. It is it's not very difficult for Igbos to apologize. But let me ask this direct question. At this point in time, whose apology would the Ibibios? Let's not talk about Igbos finding a way to apologize to themselves for the war that happened and everything. But let's even say the Igbo apologizing to the Ibibio person. Who is supposed to be making this apology to who?
Okay. Let me first of all thank my brother. What is his name? What is
Maximus Ejimofo, your in-law.
Maximus Ejimofo.
Yeah, he's your in-law.
Yes.
And my brother.
Maximus Ejimofo.
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Because Maximus Ejimofo has embarked on a historic journey. It is the first time in history an Igbo man will apologize to an Ibibio for the atrocities that went on during the Biafra.
No, to the best of your knowledge. No, to the best of your knowledge.
Well, this will be because
It was loud.
This matter for a long while. On social media, I've never seen anywhere. It is always like the young man that you brought on the program. Deny. It never happened. Nothing happened. It was, in fact, the last week he said it's our people that were killing our own people. And so Maximus has done something that is like a man stepping on the moon.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, like I said today, we're speaking opinions.
Well, I'm telling you, TD, I'm telling you how much this thing means to me.
Okay.
You don't know how much what he has said. You don't know how much it means to me. You don't know how much it will mean to my people when I put it on my wall and they read that an Igbo man has apologized. I'm telling you. Okay, you are laughing about it.
No, I'm not laughing about it. Let me tell you. Okay. No.
I'm telling you that this is something that has hurt us for a long time.
Okay.
And this is the beginning of a journey. This is not where it will end. I'm just one individual. I'm just happy that an Igbo man has been bold enough, courageous enough, even without the facts that some of you are asked, oh, give us names of people that died, and all that. Even without the facts, I said, look, if this thing hurts you so much, if you feel this way, and if this thing happened, then let me apologize. And I want to thank him for it. Now, moving on from there, who are those that should apologize? Now, I've said something to you, Chidi. We do not know and we have no idea where this Biafran agitation will end. But people are talking about it. People are talking for the first time. People are now saying, you know what? This marriage has a problem. We cannot stay together. Before, people were resisting it. Now the West have joined the East. And now some parts of the Middle Belt have joined the West and the East. And even the Northerners are saying, you know what? Let them go. So the authorities and the people that were resisting this restructuring are now realizing you cannot keep a woman that does not want to be in a marriage. You cannot. She'll run to her father's house, you bring her back, tomorrow she'll run to, how long are you going to do that for? At the point you are going to say, you know what? Let us end this. So, there is no way, Chidi. There is no way IPOB, and this is why this apology is important. There is no way IPOB or the Igbos by extension will receive or get what they want from Nigeria until they look at their backyard, at their neighbors, and apologize the way this man has done as a nation and say, we are sorry for what we did. And it's that apology, there's something spiritual about that. There's something spiritual about that apology. That apology is a release. You guys can go. We'll bless you, whatever you want. If it's the will of God, then you're going to get it. But as long as we are pained and we're hurt, you're not going to get what you're looking for.
Okay, let me come in here. Let me come in. I'll help.
Who should apologize?
Exactly.
Who should apologize?
Yes.
There are right now soldiers that fought during the Biafran War. Officers, they're civilians now. One of them is even my in-law, married to my sister. Yes, he fought during the Biafran War. He even came into Akwa Ibom. He's married to my senior sister. There are people that were senior officers in Ojukwu's army. Now they're alive, they're not dead. These are the people who know, who heard from grapevine that this and that happened. These are the people. No, we're not asking for what's the name of that your group, your cultural group. No, we're not asking for those people. We're asking for people who know, who are part of the war. But this is not something that we can do over the internet. It's something that should be well arranged. We come together. And like I said to you, Chidi, when Africans want to settle something, there's no winner, there's no loser. It's not about, okay, we apologize to you. But maybe there were things that Ibibios did to Igbos. And that is going to come out. Maybe there are some things some Ibibios did to some Igbos that hurt Igbos enough for Igbos to do what they did. I don't know. But this is not an apology of winners and losers. This is us coming together and reconciling for peace sake. The way Gowon officially, Gowon wrote an official letter to Godswill Akpabio when he was a governor and apologized on behalf of the Nigerian army for the atrocities that the Nigerian army meted on the Ibibios and the Anams.
Okay, I'm going to come in here because you kind of answered my question, but I need to. I want to put this well. I want to organize my words and say it properly. Is it in trying to take a position, an absolute position, because you talk in strong terms, you use strong words. You know, for me, I always leave a little room, and I'm kind of. It's interesting that you would say that perhaps there are things that the Ibibio did to the Igbos that made the Igbos react the way they did. That's a good place to be going to, because in the past you had said there was nothing that was done by the Ibibios to the Igbos. You see,
I also observed that.
Me and you, Ataikide, a lot of people don't know. Sometimes you don't have a lot of people who are your admirers. You have a lot of people who don't like you. You obviously know that. But they don't know that you're a lawyer. And the way you, sometimes lawyers like controversy, and you place yourself in a position where you get all these attacks, and you are, it's not something that, it's an environment that you're comfortable with. But some people don't understand it. And so sometimes when they even see me with you, they're like, Chidi, what are you doing with this guy? This guy doesn't like us. They don't know we go way beyond what they're saying. And so from where you and I come, specifically Family Worship Center under the tutelage of Pastor Inalegu Omaku, when he taught us about reconciliation and making peace, one of the important things he always stressed is your ability to understand that what is important is not the offense that you have committed against somebody. It is not even so important whether you actually did it or you didn't do it, or whether they are right or wrong. But in reconciling with your brother or your sister, what is important is you realizing or understanding or perceiving or coming to a knowledge that, oh, this guy feels offended by me in whatever manner. That is the most important thing to look at here. So it's important that even as you are, stuck to the point where you feel that you are the one that's been offended, you must also, like you have said, which is good, it's a good place for us to be now, keep it somewhere behind your mind. It's also important for the Ibibio man to make room for, there may have been things that made this man behave the way he behaved. And based on that, let me make you understand, my brother, that Maximus raised another issue. That his problem is not even what the Ibibio man says that the Igbo man has done to him. But it's not just a problem, but his biggest regret is how the Nigerian government has been able, because it is them, make no mistake about it here. It was a calculated project, and they succeeded very, very well in making, because that was the only way they could conquer. The simplest strategy we know, the strategy of divide and rule. So his regret is how the federal government was able to come in the midst of these same people, which you, Barrister Atta, talked. You made very, very beautiful, you painted a beautiful picture, albeit with some very, very terrible, landmarks in history, dotted here and there, slavery and all of that. But aside that, you painted a very beautiful picture about the relationship between the Ibibio and the Igbos. And other people have painted the picture about how the Igbo man relates with his neighbors. But it was the federal government of Nigeria who was able to come in and sow these seeds. And you can see it in every relationship the Igbo had with their neighbors. Because how come before that time, the Igbo was doing business with this person, doing business with that person, marrying this person, having a cordial relationship, everything was okay. If the Igbo was really what they are being painted to be now, how could that have existed? So it was not possible. So that tells us that there was a time, there was a point in history when something was injected. And it is obvious that this thing was injected, whether you call it the federal government of Nigeria, whether you call it the Fulani Caliphate with their agenda, whoever it was, they injected that thing. But let us come back home now. We are at a point, and that's where we'll begin to round up, where we are now saying that there should be an apology tendered, where you are calling on the man who is still trying to survive the death of 15 of his children, who just buried 15 of his children, but he still has to come to apologize for the man who lost one of his children. I'm just talking metaphorically. So you also need to make a little room for this man, because it's not enough for you to say you don't care what was his loss. You don't care that nobody has apologized to him. Or he is left to go and bury your people, go and suffer your loss, go and do whatever. That's your business. After all, we were the one that did the coup. But while you're dealing with that, I'm waiting for you to come and apologize to me because of that thing. And if you do not apologize, and that's another point that I want to tell you that you're wrong, my brother. when you say that if you do not come to apologize to me, whatever, and I give you my blessing, whatever you're looking for will not work. That will be playing God. And that is very, very wrong. I would, on your behalf, pretend you didn't say that. What it is that, and we will get to this point, between me and Maximus, the Igbo man has a very large heart. The Igbo man, amongst his brothers and sisters or neighbors, however you identify with him, is the big one. He is the one that has been very accommodating. You talked about how he did business with you. So apologizing, like, and I don't want you to misconstrue this. I know I've talked for long. But apologizing to the one who feels, it's like me and I don't know how to put it here, but apologizing to the person who feels that even though you are the big brother, you are the one that is going through issues, apologizing to that one who feels offended is not a big deal. I myself, Dr. Chidi Wanyang, if that means anything, and I know it means a lot to you, I don't have any problem apologizing to you, Barrister Ta, for whatever you feel, you and your people feel that the Igbo man has done to you. It does not remove anything in the character of the Igbo man. And it's also painful that someone would hold on to that, thinking that it will change the Igbo man. That is very, very wrong. Whoever is sowing that kind of seed is very mischievous. Let me tell you why. The Igbo man, as a businessman, will do anything, including apologize to you 1,000,000 times to win you, because you are his customer. You come to buy to him. The pride that the Igbo man has is not the pride that comes before a fall. No, it's the pride of I am strong enough to fend for myself. It's the pride of I will not allow somebody to overtake me. It's the pride that they tell you, do you know the son of who you are? It's the pride that I put in my child. That here in Canada, I tell them, you are a citizen of this country. Whether they be white, blue, black, nobody owns this country more than you. That's the kind of pride that the Igbo man has. So when somebody says it's the pride that makes the Igbo man not to apologize, I don't care what somebody says apologize for what. I don't care what I'm apologizing for. I don't care. What is important to me is that it means so much to you. Honestly, look, I care about, you don't understand. That's what I wish your people would get. No, the Igbo man is so focused. Remember, this is the same man you left with 20 pounds. And he was about his business and he focused. The Igbo man doesn't have time for a lot of petty things. So please, I want you to understand that it is a very big misconception. Gowon could apologize as the president of Nigeria because he was president now. The Igbo man was not, and it was even difficult for you to answer the question. Ohaneze Ndi Igbo cannot come and apologize to you now. IPOB cannot come and apologize to you. It has to be, like you said, a personal thing. And as Christians, one thing you must understand, and this might help your people who are thinking the way they are thinking. When you are holding on to somebody, you're not forgiving. Because don't just look at it from one side. When you are holding on to somebody, you're holding on to unforgiveness. Guess what? You are holding. Your hands are grasped. Your hands are clenched. God is throwing blessings to you. But you need to release the people you're holding in your heart so that you can grab the blessing that God is giving to you. So it could be a dangerous game too for the person who doesn't want to release. I know I've taken so much time, it's my program, but we came to a very good point. We're going to be rounding this thing off, and you don't have to apologize. You are entitled to whatever you, and I wish Uche would come on and make his last contribution, and all of us will close from here. But
there's something I wanted to say. Let Uche speak, but there's something I just wanted to...
Uche, are you able to speak? Somebody say, I beg, make apologies to Barrister, please. And we have made a lot of people are even making apologies to you here. So 90% of my family was wiped out in Biafra War. And I won't say wants to apologize to him. Okay. Uche, are you able to come on? Uche, are you able to come on? Uche, I don't think Uche is able to come on. Okay. Aita, you would give your closing statement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, we have forgiven the Igbos.
You don't sound so.
Forgiven the... We have... No, hold on. If we did not forgive the Igbos would not be in Akwa Ibom now. And 90% of the shops in Uyo belong to Igbos. We have no issue. We have no problem. You are an Igbo friend of mine. In fact, I'm closer to you, Chidi, than I'm closer to some people from my state. I schooled in Enugu Federal Government College, Enugu, for 4 years. And I have so many Igbo friends. So many. So we have no issue with Igbos. The only issue, this issue of apology came about when we saw the map of Biafra, that it now included villages, communities, and hamlets that Biafran soldiers had committed atrocities. It's like having a wound inside you, and somebody hits you. That wound is covered. Someone hits you, and that wound, even though it's covered, it's under your skin, you feel the pain inside your bones.
But
before you finish, Uche's network is really giving him problem. Uche, if you can make your own statement before we lose you again, if you're able. Oh wow, we lost him again. So once we get Uche, let's okay, Uche.
Okay, I don't know.
Go ahead.
I don't know if I'm. Yes, I have been struggling with network. Airtel just disappeared from this.
Oh wow. Yeah, these are the reasons why we want Biafra, but it's okay.
Yes, I'm so sorry for what happened. I was just, talking. All of a sudden, Airtel network disappeared, and I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
okay. Let me assume that's okay. I sense that you are making final conclusion, or you are just rounding up.
Yes.
Okay, in most cases, I didn't hear much, but I assume, because I've actually interacted with Barrister, and I presume that he re-echoed what he said the last time we met. And here is what I have to say, and I want to state clearly that people like me and so many other persons, I'm sure Maxi is also of the opinion that what we are looking for, or what we are hoping to achieve, is exclusive Igbo nation. Now, that will not have anything to do with other minorities, so that we wouldn't have to dabble into another squabble where we have a lot of betrayals and sabotage, from every corner. You see, the last time we had engagement on this topic, and Barrister made mention of what the Igbo, he used Igbo, Biafran soldier did to them. I went home. It's not as if I didn't have anything to say in rebuttal. I went home and made my own research, and I found out that it wasn't actually what really happened. In fact, we were actually the victims at some point. But I've concluded that I will put some of these things behind and move ahead and learn from history by learning from how some of our fathers failed to failed in one or two things. Those things that they failed in, we are not going to repeat those mistakes, and that's what I'm promising everyone out there listening to me. We should not fall into that trap of trying to save other people or trying to be in a relationship where you are dating yourself only, whereas that the relationship is supposed to be a mutual situation. So here is the point: we suffered brutal civil war, and we are terminated. A lot of atrocities meted at us from the Nigerian state up to this very moment. The Nigerian state has not deemed it fit to recognize that. It has not deemed it fit to reconcile the situation. And within the southeast or eastern region, we are still battling with the minority, other minority ethnic groups who feel that we didn't consult them before declaring Biafra, even though that's not the case. And we also have the issue of the Igbo people who are Igbo territory that are carved into this minority. And these people are being, forced to denounce their identity, forced to reject their Igbo identity. Some of the struggle that we are having as a people, can actually be attributed to the people in, the minority, because they are also part of the people who are encouraging this, denial. But we are not going to blame anyone. We're going to look inward and find a way to solve some of these problems. And moving forward, we are going to focus on Igbo Nation, on only Igbo Nation exclusively, wherever they are found. And I always say this: there are Igbo in Akwa Ibom, there are Igbo in River State, there are Igbo, no matter how you're trying to feign ignorance of this, there are Igbos in Benue, there are Igbo in Delta, and of course, Edo State. We will continue to reach out to these people, continue to reach out to them, and remind them where they come from. And to our neighbors, the Ibibios, the Anangs, the Efik, the Ogoja, the Jaws, and the so on and so forth, we will continue to coexist as we used to, and we will not in any way encroach into their territory. We are not going to invade their land. We are not going to take over their. It has never happened, and we are not thinking of such. There is one of the ridiculous, or should I say, unimaginable situation that it was alleged that we renamed some of the places, which is not true, which is absolutely not true. But that's a subject for debate. But I tell you, no place was renamed by the Igbo people. Those things are fallacies. But then that will be subject for debate. So this is where I would draw the curtain, and I will have to say this: we do not have anything against the Ibibio barrister. We do not have anything against the Anang, Regina. We do not have anything against the people from Aqua Cross, especially. They are there to us. They have always been our number one ally from the one, and it's be unthinkable, to wish them away. However, moving forward, I'm hoping that if Biafra eventually comes, we're going to coexist as a neighbor. And I'm saying it for IPOB, for the sake of IPOB members who are insistent that these people must join them by fire, by force. Please, I beg you, allow them to determine that. Let them be the one to champion that cause. Let us now be the one to wait for them, by that time. Let them champion it. All right. So that is what I'm begging everyone. Thank you. And I appreciate that, even though that the network came and interrupted us, but I appreciate the privilege to be on your platform. I thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you so much that even in spite of how difficult it was, you made an effort to stay on. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. We're going to be rounding up. Maximus, just in one sentence, I want you to conclude, and then we will come to Barrister Atta and then conclude. I'm hoping we're going to have another of this discussion another time. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for this last opportunity and also the early opportunity. I appreciate my invitation today. The Igbo nation, the Igbo people, we are not hegemonic people. I'm saying this for the sake of the non-Igbo listening or watching. We are not hegemonic. We don't conquer people. When I mean hegemonic, if you look at Yoruba land, for instance, sometime in 1877, that was what they call Ekiti-Parapor War, that lasted from 1877 to 1893, almost 2 decades. The war was about who wanted to conquer the rest of Yoruba land, the rest of their brothers. None of such war ever has happened and will ever happen in Igbo land. If there are any little squabbles like we see, like in Umuleri and Aguleri, it was just mere a land that both of them are supposed to get in payment for by UAC, United African Company, that one side is getting the payment and the payment is supposed to be splitted. That was the quarrel in Umuleri and Aguleri. The Igbo people actually value freedom. It's not that we don't also have chiefs or kings. We do have, but the truth is that our chiefs are like our subordinates. The Igbo people will tell their chiefs what their omona or what their umada or what the members of the public has agreed on. Then the chiefs goes there just as a messenger of the people to announce it. So we cannot in this modern age become a land grabber that we have never been all our life. It's not in our nature. That is why Sadwana could tell you that Igbos love dominating, but he could not give you an example. But everybody know now that actually, when it comes to domination in Nigeria, it is the last people to come that is dominating now, the Fulanis of 1804. So let's not exercise fear or create fear where there are none. The reason why, part of the few reasons why I apologize to Barrister is this. There are multiple reasons why people tender apology, but that's part of one reason, one better reason why that made me apologize. So, if you remember the period when there were wonder banks in Nigeria, in Lagos here, one of the wonder banks, the last money I had was 400,000. The last money I had, very big money then. Listen, I'm telling you, is in 2001. I invested all that money in Wonder Bank. 2 months later, the bank went. The day I went to witness by myself, hoping I'm going to collect my money, I saw a woman who was about committing suicide. I was forced with my friend to ask the woman, waiting happened, madam. She said her money. I said, how much is her money? This woman told me that she invested 18,000 naira. But she wants to die. But me, I invested 400,000. But I believe that if I can make that money, I'm going to make it again. I was forced upon that. I lost more than her. And that was the only money I had, just like her. I was forced to give her something and console her to go back home. Because in this case now, it is not about who lost more. Factually, it is not contestable. The Biafran War almost annihilated the Igbo race. We were the highest loser. We were the worst loser. Whichever way you want to position the losing pendulum, the Igbos were the worst that you can think of. In every aspect. My father's younger brother disappeared forever till today. My father is the only brother. He doesn't have a brother until he died in 2004. But if we have a neighbor or a brother who is crying that he also lost, and we look at it that, well, I am bigger than these people, so that they don't misconstrue my word. Igbo is over 40 million people. The whole of our Akwa Ibom is not up to half of that number. Let's not even talk of the Ibibio. So most time, it is the bigger person who says, no verse. I'm sorry, let's move on. Historically, at some point, King Iyamba in Calabar was the worst slave trader and raider in Lower Cross River region, as King Gezo was in Benin Republic and King Kosoko was in Lagos. Who was Iyamba raiding? It was the Igbos of the hinterland, because he laid hand on weapons, guns, firearms before the Igbos of hinterland. He raided my people, my forebears. But let me tell you about Igbo people. Whatever you do to me now, 2 years later, I've forgotten it totally. If you come for a business, if you come with a business that is beneficial, me and you will do it.
Exactly.
I only try to be careful that you don't cheat me again.
That's all.
But as for business, we're going to do it and share profit. If I want your daughter for marriage, I will come. I will impress you. You will give me your daughter. That's our style. So I cannot change it because of maybe I feel that I should. Some people are not happy with it or something. But be that as it may, we cannot wait for everybody. While Akwa Iboms, the Cross Rivers, the Deltas, the Kogis, and the Benues, they all have our people among them. The dominant part of Igbo heartland, that Igbos of the East Niger. We should take all the risk, push for referendum, whichever way we are going to do it, in multiple fronts. There are chains of multiple reasons why things happen. Things don't just happen. Be it disaster, be it an achievement, it doesn't just happen. There are chains of multiple reasons. We are going to pursue it in that manner. Then if one day our brothers of the Deep South felt that, after all, the Igbos I can tell you more than 10 words that are the same thing, that meant the same thing in Igbo and also in Akwa Ibom. 10, more than 10. Everybody know that fact, especially in Ibibio. So, like I said, it is not about what I did to an Ibibio man or what Ibibio man did to me. It is about what federal government want us to feel about each other. Hate. So please, let's overcome it. Thank you for this opportunity and God bless you, Barrister and the Chief Host.
Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. Now, Barrister Ataikide, your parting words.
Chidi, this is a journey, and I'm happy that we are taking this journey together. We have never had issues with the Igbos. We have been neighbors for centuries. During the era of the slave trade, the Igbos suffered, just like the Igbos. The Calabar traders and the Britam, the Long Juju sold us, the Igbos, to European slave traders on the coast. We are a very quiet people. We may not be as adventurous and domineering like the Igbos are. We're different people. We're an egalitarian society, just as the Igbos. We don't have chiefs. We don't have heads. We don't believe in kings. Kingship and headship are things that have been given to us by the Europeans. We're not like this. Our cultural system is very similar to that of the Igbos. We're republicans in the way we think. Let me say this, Chidi. What we're doing today is very small. It's a microcosm of something that is huge, is big.
Sorry. Hold on. There's something that is cutting. Go ahead. Sorry. I had a call that was cutting you.
We must come together. Not just the Igbos and the Ibibios and the Jaws and the Shakiris. Nigerians must come together. Chidi, there has never been any time in our history that we have come together and told each other the history of our people, our tribes, and our regions and our ethnic groups and how we interrelate with one another. We've never done that before. Never. And what is worse, history has been removed from our books. A lot of what we discuss about Nigeria now is almost conjecture. I mean, things we just hear there and then we're trying to patch things up. Nigeria currently has no official history.
Why do you think so?
Chidi, this is part of the problem, humongous problem that we have as a nation. Because if we had good visionary leaders, history would be the first and foremost and most important vehicle as we try to restructure, because we're going to restructure. Because everybody, the Ibibios, the Igbos, the Yorubas, the Chiefs, the Idomas, even the Hausa Fulani know that this marriage is not working. This marriage is not working.
So why are they holding on to it and trying to make it work?
I'm not holding on to it.
No, not you. Not you. Not you. The Fulani that is in authority. Why are they not giving room for an expression that this marriage is not working?
No, this is why. This is why, Chidi. Because you also have to be in their shoes, Chidi. You know, that is why sometimes when a husband has issues with a wife, a counselor will tell you, this is how women think. Put yourself in her shoes. And suddenly, husbands are wives. And sometimes when a wife has issues with a husband, they say, this is how a man thinks factually. A man does not think emotionally, factually. And so once a wife puts her feet in the husband's shoes, suddenly she's wise. My husband only wants facts. He's not interested in emotions, except when we're in bed. Facts. Put yourself in the shoes of the House of Fulani. We have the wealth, minerals, oil. If today we break up, we separate, the South, especially the Niger Delta and the South, know instinctively that they have resources under the ground that would fuel their infrastructure, fuel their education, fuel their health. They will not even have to think for the next 20, 50 years. The North does not have that advantage, my brother.
I don't think, okay. You know, we have to round up. Yes, I wanted you, let's come back to, let's leave Nigeria alone. We are focusing on, you know, the Igbo and the Ibibio this time. So I want you to give your closing words, you know, in relationship to the Igbo and the Ibibio and how far we've come to this so that we can just round up.
All right, this is what I'm saying, Chidi. What I'm saying is the Igbo and Ibibio issue is a microcosm of a much bigger issue. It is a microcosm of a macrocosm. The microcosm is two people coming together to say, this is what I did to you that you did not like, and this is what you did to me that I did not like, and coming together and having peace and reconciling. Let us take this reconciliation to Nigeria. Because, Chidi, for us to have peace in this nation, Chidi, we had a civil war that killed millions of people. And we have never had a peace and reconciliation commission to discuss the atrocities of that war, to discuss the victims of that war, to discuss the people that lost husbands, wives, and children. We have not forgiven ourselves. Look at what they did in Rwanda. Look at what they did in South Africa. And this is why we keep having this whole agitation of restructuring, of Biafra, and this and that. Even without the civil war, we still would have come to this point. But let me tell you something, Chidi. If we do not have such a commission where one side says, I am sorry I did this to you, the other side says, I'm sorry I did this to you, there will be no peace.
Okay, so what you're advocating, so, you see, you still moved away from the Igbo, and you always, I see your mind.
Yes, because Chidi, I am looking at something bigger than this. Maximus has started the process of apologizing to the Ibibios. And I know that it's a journey and that we're going to have further discussions on this, because I want to believe that a time will come when Igbo soldiers who were commanders and who know what happened will also apologize. But that's a small thing compared to a national commission, a panel where all the different tribes that participated in this war, that committed atrocities, that were victims and victors, will come together and talk.
Okay.
Embrace. Forgive one another. Because without that treaty, this restructuring will not work.
Okay. I'm going to take it from there. Thank you for your conclusion. I think it's obvious that you have said now we have moved from the Igbo and the Ibibio issue, and you are more.
No, we're not finished.
No, we will. We will.
And also, sorry, Chidi. Let me just say something. IPOB should do us a favor. IPOB should release an official map of Biafra, and leave us out of it.
Okay.
Please.
You are not. You are. I don't think you represent the Ibibio people, and
no, but they should leave my village. They should leave Afarafiam out.
Okay. You see, there are so many things. You see.
They should leave Afiamse out.
You see. No.
You cannot have.
You are changing the. You know, when you came here. Okay, when you came here, and you know me very well, you see that I'm deliberate. I'm doing something. If you notice, I'm being very deliberate, and it's for a reason. This is not my normal way of dressing. You know me. You know how I dress. But I noticed I cut my beard, I cut my hair, because people. I just want to show something. Whenever you come, whenever I come with my camouflage and my beret and all that, people want to, they leave the main issue and they want to misrepresent you. They want to brand you, that kind of a thing. So I want to give room for anyone not to even be afraid of me or be presumptuous of what I'm going to say, so that we can even talk.
That's good.
I don't want us to. You started deviating again. We all know how to talk. If you want to go that way, we can go that way. And you know me, I can also go that way. You advised prior to this that we come here and we seek to find a solution. To the best of my ability, you have heard apology. But there is something I want to warn you, my brother. When I do stories, not just one time, as a journalist, as an investigative journalist, and someone who does the kind of work I do, when I go after some people with their stories, and when they don't know what else to do, they play this card. And I've seen it played in Nigeria lots of times. They play this apology card. I'm not talking about you. So I need you to understand that if it was based on that, we wouldn't even be talking about this on this show, because a lot of people do that. Because when they get you to apologize, then they take your apology and they begin to show everybody. And say, you see, apology means they are owning up to this thing that they did. And then they now say, because they owned up to it now changes the whole narrative. That's not what we are here to do. Maximus. No, exactly. That's what I wanted us to understand. Now, moving forward, and I like the way Maximus put it, and as if Maximus was even more, it was more detailed. It was more upfront in explaining what is leading to this apology, and I hope we understand it. I want to use the opportunity to tell people that we're going to be on your show tomorrow. You're going to be having Mr. Femi Adesina on your show, and I have the privilege of being invited to your show. That place we can talk about Nigeria, and I'm coming there to let Femi Adesina know my own opinion about what is happening. We have done this event for all it's worth. It is for everybody to take their own and move on. We're going to have this thing. You will have time to go and review this program. You will hear what people have said. I know you're a reasonable man. You will chew it, and you will also show it to some people who think the way you're thinking. And we will continue the conversation. That's what we're going to do. We're going to continue the conversation, and eventually something will come out of it. I want to thank everybody. There was something I wrote down. I don't know if I have talked about it. We're talking about it says the bill did not understand. Maybe it was no. Okay, I think I already talked about it. So I'd like to thank you, Barrister Kide, for coming on the show. I know the other people have come and gone, and we are ending it here. But like you said, we've had this conversation that is an inconvenient one. It's not about who is winning and who is losing, but the fact that we're able to have the conversation, I think it is a plus. Let's continue, and then I will see you tomorrow. Would like to invite everyone on your page, right? On your Facebook page. Okay, so it's going to be...
It's the Zoom, yes, they should go to my Facebook page. It will be a Zoom event. So they should go to my Facebook page, and as we finish this meeting, I'll be posting the link on my Zoom, on my Facebook page.
Okay, so thank you so much, Barrister Tan. Thank you, Maximus Ejof. I enjoyed you. I'm going to have a one-on-one on you on my channel, so we'll have time to discuss about these things more. But thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate your coming, and I'll see you guys very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chidi. I appreciate it. God bless you.
God bless you too. All right. So, guys, Maximus, thank you very much too. I'm going to take you off now. Okay, yeah, Maximus is off. All right. For everybody else, I want to thank you for being part of this event. Like I said, it's not an easy discussion to have. If you know me very well, it's not an easy discussion, but I'm glad we had that discussion. A lot of people, when they see me bring a guest, they get upset with me. They say, no, the fact that this person is like this, you shouldn't bring them. But that's not how I roll. On the contrary, I like to bring people who don't see things the way I see it, so that we'll get an opportunity to hear from them. We'll get an opportunity to interact with them and ask them the questions that we need to ask them. You don't barb somebody their head in their absence. You bring them there and you barb them their hair. So I hope that we have learned one or two things. If you think I did something bad, I said, Dr. Chidi, please be careful of people like Ata with the apology narrative. It is Fulani-sponsored narrative to change victim status. My brother, it is well. Maximus, go and review this, and you hear what Maximus said. Maximus put it rightly, and that is who we are. Okay, but thank you, everybody. I'm gonna go now, and I'll see you guys tomorrow on this channel. We're gonna be beaming it live. So while we're doing the interview on Zoom, I'll be beaming it on our YouTube channel, and go also and see some of the interviews we did with Mwabosi, so that you can learn more about the things that we discussed today. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to give us a like on Facebook and then Instagram. Please keep safe. And on behalf of all of us here in the Worship Media Studios in Toronto, on behalf of Dr. Erica and every member of our team, I'd like to thank you and say God bless you. Bye-bye.